Hello, welcome to the Bad Opinions podcast with me. I'm Mason, call me Mason, and this is Leon.
Hello.
Basically, the whole point of this podcast is to talk about movies we like, movies we don't like, interesting movies, just movies in general. But we wanted to do it for a while, but we decided to go now because the world might die in a year or so.
Maybe less, honestly.
Maybe less. Yeah.
I don't see us surviving much longer.
No, not all. Today we decided to do our favorite movies.
Yes.
Because what better way to start and get to know the host and talk about the favorite movies?
Exactly.
So my favorite movie, well, it's not my favorite movie of all time, not my number one, but one of my favorite movies, and one of the terms I could think about actually having a favorite movie was probably Rango. It's a really great animated movie. It's got Johnny Depp in it. 2011, brilliant.
Directed by Gore Verbinski.
Thank you for that.
His name.
I don't think anyone can. And tell everyone your favorite movie.
My favorite movie is from the legendary author and misunderstood genius. Buffalo 66 from Vincent Gallo. I just want to say right now, I do not support Vincent Gallo as a human being. He is a massive piece of poop, but I really, really, really love his film. I think it's probably the best film I've ever seen. It has flaws for sure, and I will go into it in a little while. I don't want to take up too much time, but I think it's a flawed masterpiece, and it's very important to separate art from the artist, although in some cases you can't. Anyway, yes.
Anyway. Alright.
Yes.
So
should we real quick, should we introduce ourselves a little bit more and let some people
Yeah.
So what are you doing with your life right now, Mason?
Well, I'm a uni student in IT doing computer forensics with security. Sometimes I throw around and say computer security with forensics. Sort of throw it around. It's still the same thing either way, so it doesn't really matter.
It sounds more professional with the second one, though.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, it sounds far more impressive, and you could be like, "Oh, I have a degree in computer."
Do we say where we live so people can track us down?
No. We live in England. If you can tell by our accents.
Northwest is more specific, but that's as specific as we're getting.
Yeah,
I'm actually not in the Northwest right now. I'm sort of in, I think it's South Yorkshire.
Ooh, you've just gave away your location. People can come to your house now.
I doubt it. I doubt they can find me in all of South Yorkshire.
I live in it's bad.
It's a bad place. Maybe we'll find out more later on.
Yeah.
In other episodes.
Yeah, so the plan right now is this podcast is not just going to be the two of us. We're kind of testing the waters right now, seeing how everything works, seeing the reception. But we currently have like 8 other people willing to partake in this podcast. So you might have different people coming on every so often. You might have a one-off guest. We'll see if there's any regulars who do enjoy it and want to stay. But for now, we're just testing the waters to see how everything is. So expect introductions from other people later down the line. But for now, we're just gonna shoot the. Should we swear or should we keep this family friendly, PG?
We should try as hard as possible not to swear, but if we swear, we swear.
Yeah, well, we're gonna shoot the things and just talk about some good old movies we like. I need to stop swearing. In terms of me, I'm currently employed. That's all I'll say about that. And I make music. Yeah. I also have a YouTube channel. So about a month and a half ago, I made a YouTube channel.
We'll link both of those in the description, I imagine.
Yes. I'm cool with that. Self-promotion, baby. The music is Leon Vegas. It's bad. The YouTube channel is Leon Talks Film. It's even worse. But
I want to interject there and say they're actually really good. You're just very hard on yourself.
Thank you. But they're slowly getting better. That's what I always say. I say I'm getting better as time progresses. The YouTube channel has only been around for like a month and a half. I've been making music for like 5 years, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a case of improving as time goes on. I'm proud of a lot of my work. Some of it not so much. But yeah, it's just don't focus too much on the past and look forward to the future. That's what I say, my inspirational quote of the day. Woo! Okay, so is there anything else you want to say, or do you want to get straight onto
I was going to say,
films?
before we get into talk about the films, I want to say future editions, ideas sort of thing. We're probably gonna have sections on later episodes where we talk about the movies we're talking about, and then I had the idea of talk about movie news, but only at the end, because movie news becomes outdated, obviously, because we'll talk about what's going on current, but then when you watch it again in like hundreds of years, because we're gonna have fans for hundreds of years, it's gonna be very out of date. So it's gonna be like a last 30-minute thing on each episode where we talk about what's going on currently with movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I know Sardonicast. I don't know if you've ever listened to Sardonicast. It's the the movie podcast with I Hate Everything, Ralph the Movie Maker, and YMS, Your Movie Sucks, and they have it the complete opposite way, where they do news first, and then they'll do like a film review or 2 film reviews, then they'll do Q&A, but that's because they're insanely popular and have loads of fans. If you want to ask us questions, we will do Q&As, but we don't expect a lot of responses.
Not yet, anyway, at least.
No. But yeah, I'm down to do that, just talk about movie news, and we can also talk about other stuff. It's not strictly just a film podcast or a movie podcast. If there's any TV we've been watching, games we've been playing, music,
it'll expand. Like if say we're talking about a video game movie or just a video game, we'll talk about other stuff that's connected to it. Like Ratchet and Clank's movie. Which I don't enjoy, but fine. Well, yeah, it'll expand into its own thing. It'll become something later on.
Yeah. So yeah, this is my first time like actually recording a podcast. So again, if you can, I don't know where we're gonna upload this. Like, we could probably do a YouTube, SoundCloud. We're doing a
YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll do other places as well, I imagine. Also, links in descriptions.
If there's any places you can comment on any of these places, unless you're listening on Spotify or something, let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you like it. That's the thing. We need what's the word?
We need tips and tricks.
Tips and tricks and feedback. We need constructive criticism. If you just say you are crap, that's not going to help us. If you say our
something
mixing
like that,
is really
we'll just
bad,
stop.
yeah, well, stop. This will be the final episode. Don't say you are crap. Be nice and respectful, please. But yeah, we appreciate all feedback, positive or negative. It's only going to help us grow as a podcast and then a brand, and then we will sell our souls to you. But for the time being, it's free. It will always be free.
Yeah, for free.
I put a disclaimer there until we start a Patreon where we have exclusive episodes. But for now,
we'll start a Patreon once we have, like, I don't know, 100,000 subscribers.
Which will definitely happen.
Which will definitely happen within a week of the first episode going
within a week. Special celebrity guests and all.
We're gonna get
Patton
Johnny
Oswalt.
Depp on.
We're gonna get Vincent Gallo.
So he can tell us how our podcast is crap.
Oh god, yes. I do want to talk about Vincent Gallo after, and if you've got anything to say about the director or even Johnny Depp or something, we could talk a bit more about the people behind the art as well. That could be a segment, I guess.
Well, there's a lot to talk about Johnny Depp. That's sort of recently gone on.
Oh yes.
Anyway,
so
I'll go first because I think Rango's got less to talk about than Buffalo 66.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to talk about plots as well, so if you don't want to hear plots,
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
I think the best way to do it, if we talk about plot, we do plot and then sort of do a timestamp so you can skip the plot. But I don't know.
That sounds good. It won't apply to like Spotify and everything.
But
just for the YouTube and whatnot. Yeah, I think it is. It's probably best if we do timestamps. But yeah, again, we don't know how long this is going on for. You'll obviously know because you'll be staring at the length of the episode or whatnot. But yeah, this could go on for 10 minutes or 10 hours. So let's begin.
But yeah, so Rango obviously came out in 2011. Starring Johnny Depp. It was directed by Gore Verbinski.
Gore Verbinski, that's the one.
I think, yeah, that's how you say his name, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what else he's directed?
Go
Do you want some? Okay, so he's also directed A Cure for Wellness, which apparently wasn't very good. I think he directed the first Pirates of the Caribbean film, and he also directed The Ring, like the 2013 Ring. Yes, he did. Yeah. He directed the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy.
So yeah, he did. His first movie was Mouse Hunt. Wow.
Mouse Hunt, yes.
What a movie. Maybe we'll do an episode on that. Who knows? Yeah, he's done some pretty good movies though. He's done Rango, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Weatherman, The Lone Ranger.
The Weatherman's
but we don't talk about The Lone Ranger.
Have you seen The Weatherman?
No, I actually haven't.
I'm gonna recommend that on a future episode. It's a solid Nick Cage film.
Oh, Nick Cage. Yeah, we could do that. I've seen The Cure for Wellness as well.
I need to watch it. I have it on Blu-ray. I got it for like £2. I've not watched it. I've heard really mixed things. But I think Gore Verbinski is interesting because he knows how to balance horror and adventure, I'd say, because they're his two genres. Like, apart from Mouse Hunt, which is just like a flat-out comedy, but
it's such a funny movie. Like, I actually remember a lot of it and like laughing at it, even though I was quite young. I reckon I'd laugh at it now.
I can't remember a single thing. I think we have to rewatch it.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, he started off with a few comedies and then went into horror and adventure, and then we arrived to Rango, which I'd probably say is his most acclaimed film.
Yeah, I'd say that's his best.
It won the Oscar for... he won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. So, I mean, it won loads of awards. It's like, it's constantly heralded as one of the best animated films of all time. And although we have slightly differing opinions, I don't think it's a bad movie, and it will be interesting to discuss.
Which movie? Lone Ranger?
No, Rango.
Oh, Rango. Sorry. I like Rango. I think Rango's a good movie.
I like Rango, but I know you love it. I think that's the difference.
I love it. I was reading something, which is why I sort of didn't hear you say Rango. I was looking at the awards he's won for his movies. And The Lone Ranger apparently got 2 nominations and no awards.
Oh, what a shame. What a shame.
And Rango got 1 nomination in the Academy Awards, BAFTAs, and Golden Globes, and 1 in the BAFTAs and Academy Awards. Thought that was really important to know.
Also, real quick, when it won Best Picture, it was the first non-Disney film to win in 5 years since Happy Feet, and the last one to win until 2018 with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, just showing how much Disney owns the Oscars.
Well. Yeah.
And even then, like, Spider-Man is kind of a Disney property now, in a way. I know Sony
that was a Sony movie, though, wasn't it?
It's a Sony movie, but I associate Spider-Man with Disney now. I know it's not technically a Disney film, but...
It's because Disney owns Marvel, but Sony owns Spider-Man, which is really weird.
Yes. Also, one more thing before we dive deep into Rango. Do you know what the first film that ever won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature was? I'll give you 3 guesses.
When did the Academy Awards even start?
2002.
Oh, it would have been... I'm going to say it's one of the Toy Story movies.
No. Okay, that's 1 guess. I'll count that as 1 guess. You have 2 left.
It is a Disney thing, though, I'm guessing.
No.
It's not?
No.
Ant Bully.
No, that was like 2005 or 6. You've got 1 more guess.
Then I don't know, because I'm out of animated movies that I can think of right now.
It was Shrek.
Of course it was Shrek. Why wouldn't it be?
Okay. So, Rango, when did you first watch a film?
Rango, I watched it when it came out, actually. I didn't watch it in the cinema, but I watched it after. I had a DVD of it.
Ooh, DVDs.
Gotta love DVDs. So I watched it back in 2011. It's a really great movie. And as a kid, when I first watched it, I thought it looked really gross and stuff, but obviously that's what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. I think the art style is the best part about the film. Like, the direction, like, even now, like, almost 10 years later, it still looks so good. Especially for an animated, like, computer-generated animated film, because a lot of times they date so poorly. I mean, if you go back and watch the first Toy Story, granted, it was the first major animated film.
The toys still look pretty much the same. It's the people in the movies that look weird.
Yeah, that's the main issue. It just, some of it has dated, but with Rango, it's practically flawless and timeless. Although
Yeah.
we'll have to see in 10 years' time if we're still saying the same
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
But I
tune
do
back
think
in
it
10
looks
years
great.
when we'll talk about
Yes.
Rango again.
We'll do a Rango update video.
So the story is about a pet chameleon called Rango. Well, we don't know his name at that point.
You spoiled it.
Well, I told them that there'll be spoilers.
Okay.
We don't know his name yet, but he becomes stranded in the Mojave Desert when his terrarium falls off the back of a car. He meets some people, but he eventually ends up in a town called Dirt, where they have like weird water rituals because they use water as money and stuff like that. So there's like sort of a payday and stuff going on. But he becomes the sheriff when he starts telling tall tales of him taking people out with one bullet, and then he accidentally takes out the hawk that's been troubling the town and stuff like that. It's an amazing story, but he becomes the sheriff.
Incredible.
And he finds out about how water's being stolen from the bank and stuff like that. And there's a giant conspiracy involving the mayor of the town. It's basically just like a spaghetti western, but for children and animated with animals. And the story holds up. If you did it with real people and recorded it as a spaghetti western, it would work exactly the same.
Oh yeah, it has that very, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. It has a very kind of it's more of a comedy than like a flat out like traditional western in most ways.
It's aimed at kids, so you have to sort of keep them interested as well.
It has that like silly factor to it, I guess, like because westerns, I've over the past few months I've been watching spaghetti westerns for the first time, like some of the major ones, like The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, Once Upon a Time in the West, and I've noticed how although they can be like the characters and antagonists can be very threatening and whatnot, they do have a kind of corny nature to them watching back now, and I think Rango captures that really well. It captures that even though these characters aren't humans, they're just animals and whatnot, they still have that kind of corny but purposely corny aspect of them where they're saying lines of dialogue nobody would say, but it just works in the context of the film.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie to watch, and I do recommend it to anyone. But actually, I won't spoil the exact ending, but you know what's going on, so that's how it's going. But I think the idea of them using water instead of money it works more with children, because I know when I was a child I didn't have any concept of money really. Yeah. The only thing I knew, if my mum give me a couple of quid, I'm like, mate, I'm going to buy some sweets. That's the only thing I knew about money.
Yes.
So it really doesn't hold up if you go to a kid, oh, they've stolen the money. What's the town gonna do? The kids just be like, I don't still live.
It's something that everyone can understand, because like obviously money is universal, but so is water, and like in some things, like I've been watching some like Asian films sometimes, and they'll say something like, "Oh, he stole $100," but they don't even use dollars in like Japan or anything. So it makes no sense, because there's always that kind of conversion of like 100 yen is not 100 pounds. Yeah. So with taking away the money aspect of the film kind of makes it universal, so anybody around the world can watch it at any age, and they're like,
and water.
We
everyone
understand.
Everyone knows we need water to survive. Like it's
exactly. And they're animals, so it's not like animals are going to be like spending money or anything. They'll be using water because water's more traditional. So it does make sense in that regard, and I do really, I don't know, I appreciate it. I appreciate, even though it's like a comedy, like I don't want to say a parody, because it's not necessarily a parody of westerns. It's like embracing them, more like a homage or homage. Yeah. How do you say that word, by the way? Do you say homage?
I say homage.
Yeah. Because I know people say the technical way to say it is homage, but it sounds ugly.
I've never heard anyone say homage before, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was on the Sardonicast episode with where they were talking about Joker, and they mentioned that. Very weird. But yeah, I think it's more of a homage to just like the old spaghetti westerns, like you were saying, and it doesn't necessarily need to be one-to-one identical. It doesn't need to be, oh, this Clint Eastwood needs the money. It's not that. It's just water, and it's fun.
Everyone needs water.
Everyone does.
But yeah, let's talk about the characters, because they're like the most interesting part in my opinion. Because can I just say this is the most successful Nickelodeon movie in my opinion.
Oh, hell yeah.
I always forget it's a Nickelodeon movie as well.
Okay, wait. I just need to double check something.
Go on.
I just want to double check to make sure, because if so, I might have to disagree with you. Okay, yes, I do. I'm sorry, but the SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
Oh, well,
I'm sorry.
I
think
suppose
the
you're right on that
SpongeBob.
one.
I thought they also produced Napoleon Dynamite, but it was a Nacho Libre they produced, which
That's also a great movie, to be honest with you.
they had a really good run, and then they made the second SpongeBob film.
Yeah, but hey, who knows? The Paw Patrol movie could be the best movie.
Oh, hell yeah! So let's hope they take
That's
a very
next year,
satirical
by the way.
edge
That's
to
like
it.
the 20th. This is the first bit of movie news you're getting. The 20th,
Movie news,
25th of
movie
August. To next
25th?
year, 20th.
Oh hell yeah! 7 days, a week before my birthday.
Hell yeah!
You
we're going
know
to see
my
that on your
birthday now. Yes, let's do it.
Right. Anyway, sorry. Characters. So you get the main
Characters.
character called Rango, as he names himself after he sees the name. The words "de Rango" on a bottle of cactus juice. But he doesn't have a name at the first bit, which is like a pretty big plot point because he doesn't know who he is. He's never met anyone before. He's just a lonely lizard who's been a pet most of his life. It's like
Yes.
he might have had a
Also-
pet name from his owners, but we don't know that.
Yeah. Also, he reprises his role from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
it's very bizarre, and there's even I recall, like, I don't want to get too off topic. Well, it's not off topic; it's about the film. But there is like a moment where what is it? Flight of the Valkyries
Yeah.
from Apocalypse Now plays during like a car chase, which is what happens in Fear and Loathing. Minus spoilers for that. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not minus spoilers. It's just a small scene, but they essentially kind of just riff on that again. And I always love when
I love
actors
that, yeah.
kind of what is it, like, reference their old work. I find it really
I
interesting.
really like that movie as well. Fear and Loathing's a great movie.
So good. It's so good.
But yeah, his character is sort of like basically the story of his character is him trying to find out who he is, but he ends up blowing it up out of proportion because he wants to be someone better. And the whole idea is you can't be better than but yourself. You be yourself and you're doing great. But if you try and be better than yourself, it's gonna blow up in your face, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a really important message for kids, and I don't think every single kids film has to have a message, but I do appreciate it when they do, as long as it's not too like ham-fisted in. And I think with this, it's a perfect blend of having an entertaining movie as also alongside teaching kids morals and like, hey, you don't have to be the best. It's fine. You don't have to impress other people. Just be yourself, and it's a good message for kids.
So we also have Beans, who's like the like love interest of the movie, but she's also like really kick-ass as well, to be honest with you.
Badass female.
Honestly, her character, she sort of is sort of like just the love interest, but she has her own things going on. Like you sort of learn over the death of her father and how everyone knows that he died by getting drunk and falling down a mine shaft. But she gets like so upset about the situation and she doesn't believe it because she thought he was like sober. That if anyone mentions it, she gets really upset about it. I thought it was like a really nice thing to add in because it's like no one really directly speaks about it. It's just people mention it like an off sort of thing. But she's not really more than just the love interest, though. Really, in my opinion.
A lot of films, especially from that era, didn't really have the most developed female characters. Like, obviously, you have the exceptions. Female characters have always been important in the grand scheme of things, but especially with the rise of, like, Me Too recently, women are finally getting their, like, showcase in films a
which
lot
is amazing
more.
because I do like seeing things where there's, like head... What's the word I'm looking for? Like main female actresses in a main role.
Top billing and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of controversy about how to do it right and stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
Like they did in Endgame, they did like the whole woman scene.
You've got Ghostbusters 2016.
And I don't want to talk about that right now.
No.
It's a fine movie. It's just not perfect. Anyway. In the Marvel movie, in the Avengers movie, it's sort of shoehorned in, and I do think they should have like a sort of all woman thing going on. The fact they shoehorned in all the women being there, and it just, with all of them being in the same scene, it kind of shows off that only one of them has their own movie, and they're all just side characters.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not. It's not a good look, if you know what I mean.
No, it's not. I think it's another example of how Disney tried to kind of shoehorn that stuff in, like you were saying, because if you, like, again, I'm not a huge fan of either of the films, but when you compare a character like Captain Marvel to, say, Wonder Woman, it's obvious Wonder Woman is an actual character with feelings, and Captain Marvel, or I can't even remember her name. What's her name? It's
What, the actress?
No,
Or
not Brie
actual
Larson.
character?
The actor Diane. Is it Diane?
I don't know. I actually haven't seen
It doesn't
Captain
matter.
Marvel.
Oh, but the main issue with Captain Marvel as a film and character is she doesn't really have any character to her. She is just a super invincible, strong character who has no obstacles to overcome.
And it's not just an issue with her, to be honest. You get Superman as well. Like I've never related to Superman because I just don't. Like, there's nothing to relate to him.
At least with Superman, there is kryptonite. He has a weakness. But with Captain Marvel, she doesn't have a weakness. That's the issue. As far as I'm aware, I cannot remember a single weakness she has. So she's just like a Deus Ex Machina that can just solve any problem whatsoever. But when you contrast it with something like Wonder Woman, she's like, oh yeah, she has weaknesses. She has a character towards her. And she's someone that young girls especially can relate to. And I feel like that has been missing in films for quite a while. Like, again, if you go back to the 80s, surprisingly, there's a lot of like female-led films, like especially horror films, I'd say, like Sigourney Weaver and Alien, for example.
It was weird. It was weird how it sort of phased out as we got into the new millennium. How it was less female lead roles and more male.
And then it kind of went back again with everything that's went on in the past few years. And looking back on some films now, you can notice that. And I will definitely say, in regards to Buffalo 66, that's definitely an issue too, but I will say that's more to do at fault with the director and not to do with the film itself. But yeah, during that era, females were not really highly regarded. I don't want to say highly regarded, but they weren't pushed to the forefront, and that's why, looking back on stuff like Rango, it can feel like there's not a whole lot to them, and they are just a love interest. So yeah, we might have got a bit off topic there. Well, no, it was still on topic. It was just sidetracked. That's the word.
Yeah, I'm just reading the names of the characters right now. For Rango, and I just noticed the mayor is called Tortoise John. He's played by Ned Beatty. Oh, yeah, Ned Beatty.
Tortoise John.
I didn't know his name was Tortoise John because everyone just calls him the mayor and stuff like that. But yeah, he's a good character. He's a great antagonist. Sort of you sort of see him as like the hero of the town first. Yeah. Like sort of he wants everyone to have a good thing, but then he starts to get all menacing towards like the second half of the movie.
Oh, absolutely. Can we also talk about this cast overall? Because, like, there's just, like, Alfred
cast.
Molina. Well, obviously, Johnny Depp. We have Isla Fisher, Sacha Baron Cohen's wife. We have Abigail Breslin, who was... she was in Zombieland. She's, like, the girl, Little Rock, from Zombieland. You've got Alfred Molina from Spider-Man 2, Doc Ock himself, Bill Nye from, like, every British comedy of all time, Harry Dean Stanton, who's, like, a David Lynch regular, but he's also in so many films. Like, the list goes on and on. Ray Winston, Timothy Olyphant. It's just, it goes on and on and on. They have such a jam-packed cast here, and it's awesome. And we'll get more into them now.
I'm wondering if Mr. Tibbs has a voice, because he does have a voice in one scene. You know, the plastic fish.
Oh yeah, Mr. Tibbs. Let's see.
I can't see it anywhere. But anyway, my favourite character in the entire movie is Rattlesnake Jake, because he's voiced by Bill Nye, and I think that's epic.
He's so cool.
He's a really cool guy, but I also love I love the character's design so much. It's just incredible. Because obviously he's a snake, he doesn't have any arms and stuff like that, so it has changed his rattle, like the rattles part of his body, into like just a gun, and it's like the coolest idea ever.
That's another thing about animation. You can kind of just go all out, especially if you're not trying to set it in reality. You can just go as outrageous as you'd like with designs, and if you saw that in just like a standard live action film, it wouldn't it wouldn't connect as much most of the time unless you had a really over the top nature. So I think that's like a credit to animated films. They can just kind of, I don't know, they can go all out, especially with kid films, and just make wacky characters.
Mm-hmm. And the fact he still rattles it, because it's all like the revolver drum, I think it's called.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I'm not a gun expert. But it's all like the revolver, the middle bit where you put the bullets in. Like every single one, and there's about, I don't know, 7 of them or something. But they're all loosely above each other, so when he rattles it, it does like a metallic rattling noise, and it sounds amazing.
The sound design is so good in this film.
Yeah, he's my favourite character, just because he's just amazing.
Yeah, the more we talk about this, the more I want to rewatch it, because I will be honest, it's been a few years since I saw it. It has been a while, but I can remember the majority of the film, and you just mentioning like the odd character here and there is kind of giving me like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I appreciate the film more the more I think about it, which is it makes me want to rewatch it. I should have done that.
Yeah. Oh, can I just say, I don't want to miss out one of the most important aspects of the movie. There's like what's it called? Like sort of narrators, but they're like a mariachi band of little desert finches, I think they are, or maybe the owls.
Yeah, the mariachi owls. That's it.
Mariachi owls, Flan. Yeah, they are amazing. They're all really cool, but they sort of come up every now and then, sort of like in new acts, and sort of explain what's going on. And there's like funny scenes where Rango actually looks at them because they're saying something. He looks at him, he's like, "What are you saying that for?" And they're like, well, they play a bit of music, and he said he's gonna die in the desert alone. And he sort of glances at him, and he stopped playing like this. They stop playing, and then they go really slow again and sad. It's really great.
Yeah, it's like the characters are so full of energy in the film, and they don't. They're just very memorable characters, which I think is hard to come across in a Western. Because, like, again, I've watched a few recently, and I can name like the odd character, but I couldn't give you a list of every single character. But with Rango, you can literally remember characters who have maybe 2 scenes in the film because they have that much of a presence.
Well, there's the eagle, not eagle. He's a crow, I think. Let me see. Oh, he's a raven. He's known as a wounded bird.
Great title.
Yeah. Well, he's only in it for a couple of scenes, but he's like, I guess he's sort of native. Like he's a native, because there's a lot of natives in Western films. There's only a couple of scenes with him in it as well. Like some main ones. Like in the last scene, he's there with Rattlesnake Jake in the sort of showdown thing. But he's not really mentioned other than in that scene, and where they're tracking the people who stole the water and stuff like that. And he even gives like sort of, it tells Rango what's going on when there's like the water ritual the first time. Yeah. So it's kind of weird that he doesn't have a name, unless that is his name, because what's it called? The natives did have names, whereas like water flows and stuff like that. So it might just be a play on that. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah, I think because like I'm reading up on the production, and the film references so many films. So obviously Gore Verbinski knew what he was doing in that regard. So it's most likely a homage or like a reference to the native characters from the older spaghetti western. Sorry.
See the one of the most interesting parts of this film actually is the way they recorded the voice lines and stuff as well.
Yeah, I actually don't know. So
you don't know?
No,
I think this is how they recorded the voice lines, or it's how they practiced doing the voice lines. But they actually acted out the scenes, like with each other and stuff like that. So I know with the first scene, there's like a really funny like recording of Johnny Depp doing that first scene, but as himself, like walking around the room where he's in the tank, and he's like pulling the leaves apart. He's talking about he's got all these like toys in his tank, and he's making them act and stuff like that. Yeah, but he's doing that in real life, and it's sort of like how he recorded the voice lines. It's really great.
That's interesting. That's not a very common thing, especially for like animated films. I know with live action you have mocap and whatnot, but that's really interesting. I need to pick up the Blu-ray. I want to watch like some of these behind the scenes features now.
And this is what's his name? Gore I don't know his name anymore.
Gore Verbinski.
Verbinski. I think it is his first animated movie. So and I remember watching the behind the scenes thing, and he was talking about how with a normal movie he's allowed to walk around the set and see what everyone's doing, sort of direct people. Because it was animated, he couldn't do that. So they built the sets and stuff like that in the programs, the 3D programs, and he had a screen which he was allowed to sit on, and he's sort of like a spectator in a game. Like he was able to fly around while the scenes were sort of playing out after they'd been rendered or something like that. That's how he did that.
That's really interesting.
And I think that's how they sort of got like, I can't remember the word. That's how they got it so close to being with like an actual live action movie. Like it was pretty close in some senses. But
yeah, it does feel. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Because he was able to look around the sets and stuff like properly, he was able to say, "Oh, I want them to be there and stuff like that. I want their light coming in this direction and stuff like that." It was really interesting to see how they did that.
Yeah, it's not that again. That's not like the typical way to film an animated film or create an animated film, should I say. So yeah, props to them for being innovative in some ways. And again, I do feel that's why the film has this lasting kind of it hasn't aged yet, because it hasn't aged poorly, should I say, because it's aged really well, because it still looks good, and I do assume that the kind of live action nature to that kind of helped with the animation a little more, because if you're just recording the voice lines like Toy Story or something, everyone's just recording them in a booth. They have no source material to really work from necessarily, but if they've literally been around a set, across a set or whatnot, and acted them out, they know what they're working with, so they have more of a guideline instead of just storyboards, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting. I wonder if any other films have like attempted that. I mean, we could say Marvel films because they're all fucking shits. I guess that's a swearing thing gone.
Well, whoops! It only took one episode.
That was like what 35 minutes in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess all of the Marvel films are kind of animated now. How they're like behind a green screen or a blue screen, but yeah, I think overall it's a really impressive film visually, and hearing that kind of behind the scenes production tale, it just makes me want to check the film out again, and then also check the bonus stuff out. I have to pick it up now. That's going on my like collection.
What Rango is, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's not much really else to talk about really, because it is just a kids movie in a sense.
Yeah.
But it is a really great kids movie where anyone can watch it and sort of relate to the characters and really get into the storyline of the whole thing.
Yeah, there is one more thing we can talk about.
What's that? Go on.
Do you know the smoking controversy?
Oh, no, what's this?
Okay, so in Sacramento, the anti-smoking organization Breathe California regarded the film as a public health safety, saying there were at least 60 instances of smoking in the film.
Oh, no.
And because of this, they petitioned for it to be an R-rated film. However, it wasn't changed and remained a PG film because... Why? Why do that? Like, why does it have to be an R-rated film?
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I love human beings. I love them. They bring me delight. They bring me bad Google reviews and idiotic campaigns. I love them.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so what's your score for this film?
My score is out of 10, I imagine.
Yeah, any score you prefer. Grading system, do you want to give it an A- or just a 1 out of 10?
Just do the 10 thing, because that's like the easiest way.
Yeah.
I would say I think 8.5.
Okay.
Or just an 8.
That's
we'll
a fair
say 8.
score. Yeah, I had it at 6 because at the time I enjoyed it, but I wasn't too invested overall. But speaking about it more has me wanting to rewatch. So I'd say I'll probably keep it at a 6 for now, but I still appreciate the film, and everyone's scoring is different. A 6 to most people equates to a bad film somehow, because they believe like 7 is average. But the way we should really quickly go over our scores, our score rating systems, because some people get confused.
Well, I mean, imagine it goes bad from like 1 to like 4, and then 5 is like good till like what?
Yeah,
7?
yeah. That's kind of how I do it. I think every film should start at a 5 out of 10. If it does things that are impressive, you can go up. You can give it more points. So you can give it a 6 or a 7 or an 8. But if it's just a mediocre film that doesn't do anything interesting, it will either stay at the same or it will go down a bit. But I know a lot of people like IGN and whatnot, they consider a 7 out of 10 to be average, as in like, you know, when you're like grading a paper at school or something, and it's like, oh, you got a 70%, which means you just barely scraped by type thing. When I don't like that approach. I think 5 is literally the average number. So if a film is average, it's a 5 out of 10. If a film's good, it's a 6 out of 10, and vice versa. So yeah, it's a good score. I don't dislike the film, and as you can probably tell from us talking about it, I really want to go rewatch it now. But yeah, I think it's a solid film.
Yeah.
Would you say it's one of your all-time favorites?
Yeah, it's in my top 5. I'd say about 3.
Wow. You don't have any. So in your top 5, an 8 out of 10.
Well,
whoa.
Yeah.
Are you not getting the like personal bias and just be like, I love it, I'm giving it a 10? I'm
gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
Give it a 10 out of 10. I'm peer pressuring him into doing it. But yeah, an 8.5 is like an incredibly respectful score, and I think on rewatch it will only go higher for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say for now it is in my top 5. I'm not gonna give it an official number, but I guess we'll see as the podcast goes what my top 5 actually is.
Every 6 to 12 months, we should talk about our top 5 films, see if anything's changed.
Yeah, of course. A lot of movies come out, so it changes.
Oh yeah. Okay, so film 2.
Now time for the most interesting part of the podcast.
Ooh. Okay. Okay, so my pick, as I've previously mentioned, is a 97. Was it 97?
It's 98.
Oh god, I should have known that.
Wow, it's supposed to be your favourite film. How could you not know?
I don't even know the release date. I don't know the minute it came out. No, but it is Buffalo 66, which is a comedy, drama, crime film, I'd say it's like it flexes between those genres, and it's from interesting man Vincent Gallo, also starring Vincent Gallo, also produced by Vincent Gallo, also composed by Vincent Gallo, probably edited too. He's the Tommy Wiseau of the indie scene.
He did the direction, he was screenplay, story, starring, music.
Oh, he didn't edit or shoot it like cinematography wise. Okay, so he did most of the work. Essentially, it's very much a passion project. And although I said near the start of the podcast, it's important for me to separate art from the artist. I don't like him as a person, and we will get into that in a little bit when we talk about the people, if you still want to do that. But I do think in this case, I can kind of brush it aside, even though he is so deeply rooted in this film. I mean,
we'll wait till we've done both. We'll sort of like talk about the movies, and then we'll talk about the people in the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. So the film essentially, it's an indie film. Lionsgate released it back in the late 90s, and it was Gallo's first film. I think he'd starred in a few films. He actually, believe it or not, has a cameo appearance in Goodfellas. The amazing, he has a literal, I think it's like he's in about 17 frames of that film, but he always hails it as a cameo, so yeah, why not? But yeah, after a few years of starring in lower budget films, he decided to make his own film. He was previously an artist, and then Buffalo 66 came out, which I don't know how autobiographical it is. I know the house that the film is shot in is actually the house he grew up in. So there's definitely those elements, and it's strange. Essentially, it's about a guy called Billy Brown who gets out of prison after serving 5 years, I believe it was, and he wants to go see his parents. So he does the most logical thing possible and kidnaps somebody and forces them essentially to pretend to be his girlfriend. His wife,
his
sorry.
wife, yeah.
Yeah, just as you do. And that woman is played by Christina Ricci,
Yeah.
Ricci, I think it is, who was in The Addams Family, and what else has she been in? She's quite a popular actress. She's like the type of actress that you'd know. Like, she was in Sleepy Hollow, also with Johnny Depp. She was in The Smurfs too. She was in Speed Racer. She was also in
What's the most
Fear and
recent
Loathing in
thing?
Las Vegas. How weird is that?
Oh wow.
That's very weird.
She's in the most recent movie she's been in is Percy, and that's like this year. I don't think that's out yet, but
Yeah, so she's still acting, and yeah, she's really good in this film. I think it's weird because, again, it's one of those films that I find really hard to talk about without talking about the production behind it, because it was a very stressful production, which I guess we'll get into.
She was also in an episode of Simpsons.
How yeah,
in 1996.
Simpsons ago. Oh, so that was before it got terrible. That was like season 7, 8-ish.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know when Simpsons started.
89, I want to say. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so he essentially gets out of prison and kidnaps this woman. What's her name? Layla, that's it. And he forces her to play a character called Wendy Balsam. We don't know who this is at this point. And then what ensues is possibly the most awkward family dinner of all time.
I love the scene.
It's amazing. I think the film perfectly balances like intentional comedy and like really, really awkward humor.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just moments where Billy, the character, will just absolutely spout on garbage that you know is not true, and then the next second he'll change his mind on something. So for example, when he's driving, when he's trying to get to his parents' house, he says he can't drive the car because he doesn't know how to drive cars with sticks, because he's used to luxury cars, which is basically just an excuse for him, as he never learned how to drive, more than likely. So he's constantly always coming up with these things, and he's so quick with it, which I find really funny, like his excuses and whatnot. And if you've seen something like The In-Betweeners, you know the characters who always lie, like Jay, for example. He's very much along that line, and when the film starts out, you hate this guy. You absolutely hate him. You're like, this guy is, he's undesirable, he's horrible, he's mean-spirited. Yeah, he's horrible. But as the film progresses, you learn more and more about him, and on rewatch, it completely changes how you experience and view the film, at least in my opinion.
I've watched it twice now, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I watched it. When did we first watch it? Let's say that, because we did that for Rango.
You asked me to watch it like a couple months ago, I think.
Yeah, I think it was like 4 months ago, maybe. Around that time.
I think it was July time.
Yeah, so it wasn't too long ago. I watched it for the first time in June, and since then I've watched it 6 times.
Yeah, I've watched it twice now. I watched it once then, and then once in August, I think it was.
Yeah, you showed your brother, didn't you?
Yeah, I showed my brother.
Yeah,
he liked the movie as well. Just for
I think the most interesting thing about this film is every single person I've shown it to has either liked or loved it. There is never really anyone who dislikes it, which I find interesting for a film created by such a polarizing figure, let's say. Oh yeah, dislikable. That's a better word. I'd use the word polarizing, but then again, I don't think anyone's really on his side at this point. But yeah, I think the film is super interesting. So it was actually shot on film. Like, what was it? What's it called? Let me just get it up now. It was shot on reversal stock, which is essentially what the old Buffalo, like American football style games were shot on back in the day. So it really has that classic and retro look. And considering it's a film made for such a low budget, you'd never really see films, especially like it was shot for what, under 2 million, I want to say. 1.5 million. A lot of the times they will feel very flat, especially if they're low budget, because they don't have much to work with in terms of like production and production design, cinematography and whatnot. But giving it that kind of dated look, even in 1998, makes it kind of timeless, in my opinion, because you could watch it and think, oh yeah, it's a film from the 70s, or it could be a film from today that somebody's just shot and added that kind of filter on. It feels timeless in most ways, which I always love about a film. And like we were saying with Rango before, it's nice to know that a film 10, 20 years later still kind of stands the test of time, which I find super interesting. But yeah, so you have the dinner scene which goes on and on and on, and you learn more about his family, and you learn more about why he's this aggressive, intolerable person almost. You learn that his mum, oh, spoiler alert, by the way, I know we said that for Rango, but I just in case, if you haven't seen the film, go out and watch it right now. But yeah, you learn more about his parents, about how his family treated him, about how they constantly ignore him and care more about the football games they're watching instead of him. They argue with him over absolutely inconsequential stuff. Forget simple things such as the fact he's allergic to chocolate.
Yeah, that scene really gets me, because it's like he's like, yeah, I'm allergic to chocolate, and she's like, no, you're not.
You
like,
used
yeah,
to love chocolate.
Died.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing I love about the film, how interesting, like the interesting way flashbacks and footage is like shown to the audience, because in most films you'd kind of just have like, it would just go to that other scene necessarily, but the way Gallo edits his films is he'll give you flashbacks or like insights into the characters' minds by kind of placing a clip over a pre-existing clip. So while him and his mother are arguing over the fact that he's allergic to chocolate, it slowly zooms into this flashback of him having like an allergic reaction to the chocolate, and I think it's such a weird but interesting like way of communicating that information, really, because it's not something I can really say happens very often in films. I couldn't really point to any other films.
No, I don't think I've ever seen anything similar to that before, to be honest with you.
And
but then again, I've not seen every movie, so
yeah, it's one of those things. It probably has influenced some film, like somewhere or later, some film has probably used that, or it might have even happened before, for all we know. He could have been influenced from something, but as far as I'm aware, it's one of the first times an effect of that magnitude has been used, and I find it really impressive, even from the opening scene where he's let out of prison and he's just like sat on the prison gates. Instead of saying, "Oh, my name is Billy Brown, I've served 5 years in prison for whatever," it just shows you about, I think it's like 12 different shots of him serving time in jail.
They're all like coexisting in the same shot, like they all start appearing in different parts of the screen.
Yeah, and until it just completely takes up the screen, and for the past 5 or so years, or however long he's been in, because you don't know at that point, prison has been the only thing on his mind. And I think it's such an interesting way of communicating that. Also, another thing I want to mention, this film is really funny. It sounds super depressing. We're talking about how he was treated really poorly by his family, and it's like really sad, but it's also a really funny film. The opening 10 minutes of the film, he really needs to piss.
Yeah, I was going to interject basically and talk about that.
Yeah, like the opening is comedically funny because you've got this man who's spent 5 years in prison. He just needs a wee, and nowhere will let him. The shops are closed. The bathrooms are closed in like the shopping centers. He goes to like one place, and they're like, "Oh, it's only for customers," and it's the greatest opening scene I could ever.
And when he finally gets that piss, you was like, "Oh, mate, I feel that." Now I know how this character feels exactly.
Yeah, you know the pain he's going through from the first scene, and it's great. It's something that we can all relate to. We've all had that moment where we desperately need to go to the bathroom but can't because we're in a meeting or something along those lines. And I think it gives a sense of relatability to this character even before you learn of his more negative character traits, should I say. So you still relate to the character, and I don't think you have to relate to every character in every film ever. Like, sometimes you won't relate to a protagonist, but I do think it adds a sense of comfort, really, because you're like, I understand what this character's been through type deal.
In my opinion, though, you can relate to a certain part of a character. You don't have to relate to all of them.
Oh yeah.
And with this whole needing a pee thing, like, for a while, it sort of humanizes him. Like, before you get to know him, it gives him a human quality to, like, he's an actual person. He's not just like this random guy in a movie you don't know. He's a person. He needs to go to the bathroom like everyone else. It's such a simple thing, and it's much better to do it before you actually introduce the character.
Oh yeah, because there's so many ways you could communicate this information. Like I could probably there's so many films about people in prison and getting out of prison, and most of the time you'll either have a narration, you'll have some narrator going on about, oh, that was my final day of my 8-year sentence in San Antonio prison or something,
Yeah.
and well they'll have a scene where they're I don't know, they go to.
Can I just say my least favorite version of that is, yeah, that's me. I guess you're wondering how I got in this position. It annoys me to no end. I didn't like it
Sonic
in
the
any
Hedgehog.
movie. I didn't like it in Sonic the Hedgehog even. No, it just doesn't work. It's not a good thing to do in a movie. And I get everyone's
just
referencing
lazy.
the original movie that did it, but no one knows what the original movie is anymore.
No, it's such a lazy trope by today's standards.
Yeah.
And that's why I there's a difference. Like when we're talking about Rango, it's clearly a homage and it's referencing those films purposely. But if you're Sonic the Hedgehog and you're not necessarily a prison drama, or you're not a film that's trying to recapture that gritty kind of sassy nature, then I don't understand why they interject it and force it into everything. It's
I guess it's another sort of quote unquote inside joke. Like sound designers always have the Wilhelm scream for some reason.
It's so irritating.
It's like when they put it in, they think it's a smart thing to do. And it's like, stop, don't do that. When I watch a movie and I hear the Wilhelm scream, it really takes me out of it, and I can't get back into it. Like if I'm watching, I think it was in Lord of the Rings twice in the same scene.
In the Two Towers, it was during the fight sequence. They had two Wilhelm screams.
You're watching a fight scene in a mythical situation. There's orcs and elves fighting each other. And then you hear a Wilhelm scream, which I think was in a Western movie the first time it was heard.
Yeah, it was it was 60s era or something.
Yeah, and the first time it happened, I joked and said, "Right, I'm leaving," because it was in the cinema. And then I was like,
and then it happened again.
And it happened again. I just sat down 2 seconds later, it happens again, and I'm just like, how have they done it twice?
Yeah. It's super irritating because there's other things. It's when Hollywood or the film industry notices something that, oh yeah, we'll do that, they just overdo it to death. With Sinister. Have you ever seen Sinister, the horror film?
I have not.
Okay, so minor spoilers, I guess, for Sinister, although it's not really a spoiler. The last frame of the shot is literally the antagonist kind of jumping out, and it's boo kind of thing, to one final scare for the audience. And ever since Sinister came out, every single low budget horror film did that exact same thing. Unfriended did it. It's just every film, Paranormal Activity did it. It's always a case of, oh, everything's quiet, one last loud jolt before the film ends. And I hate when films do that. When something with the first Sinister film, it was interesting at the time, and it was oh, I didn't expect that, but then they overdo it like they do with the Wilhelm scream or something, and it just gets so frustrating. So anyway, did you have anything else to say, by the way? I don't want to.
No, there's nothing really to say.
Yeah, getting back to the editing style and kind of introducing us to Billy as a character, I think, like you said, it adds that layer of relatability to him because we've all needed to go to the toilet. So yeah, we've just spoke for about 5 minutes about a guy really needing to wee.
That was the biggest because we were talking about him needing a wee, and it got into a whole different thing where we talked about Wilhelm scream.
Wilhelm scream. Yeah. But as the film progresses, you have the dinner sequence, family meeting sequence, and you learn more about the character. So obviously his mum didn't treat him too well. His dad kind of completely ignores him. When he first knocks on the door, the first thing he doesn't say hi to his son, who he's not seen for 5 years. He just shouts out to Billy's mum, and he's like, "Your son's here." He doesn't even say, "Hi, son." He doesn't even refer to him as Billy. He just says, "Your son." And it just goes to show this ugly character. You can understand why Billy is so apprehensive of letting new people into his life, because all of the people in his life, apart from Goon or Rocky, have treated him horrendously, and also the bowling alley guy. They're the only two people who have ever shown him any kindness, and mostly it's just because they want to be friendly. That's what I've noticed. And I do think, again, this is kind of where Vincent's ego kind of makes its way into the film, as in, oh, I'm the lonely guy, and everyone who does like me only likes me because they think I'm cool type thing. And it can come off as a bit egotistical and obnoxious, but I think with Billy, he's such a he's such a downtrodden character, and nothing really goes right for him. But I don't mind it too much because like if someone had the exact same criticism for Joker, I'd be like laughed out of the room. It's like, oh no, but Joker has a bad backstory and Joaquin Phoenix isn't like that. Yeah, so that's why I do think you should separate the art from the artist then, even though Vincent interjects himself so much into the film. I can kind of ignore it, even though it comes off very...
I think the story of the movie is a sort of like caricature of his own life.
Yes, it does feel that way.
Very dramatized.
Yeah, because I don't think he's had all of the hardships in the film, and he's even said in a few interviews, he said it's not autobiographical, but then again, there are moments like going way later into the film, I'll just mention this before I forget, there's a sequence where him and Layla are in a hotel room, and he wants to take a bath, because his dad never let him use much hot water in the bath, he says, so it would always be like 90% cold water and 10% hot, and in an interview, Vincent said that's actually what happened, so he said that happened. So it does make sense, and that's where it kind of becomes hard to differentiate fiction from reality. And it's like, did this happen? Were his parents really like this? Were they nice? So it's very interesting, especially as you read more into the production history, more on Gallo as a person. But yeah, during that dinner scene, his dad just kind of completely ignores him, gives so much attention to Layla, or Wendy Balsam, should we say, and she basically lies for him about how they met, saying he was in the FBI and all of the girls wanted him, but he was a mysterious guy. He was like the head top
I do
dog.
Love that.
Yeah, and I love how she kind of just rolls along with it, because in most situations, like, you have someone, like, if someone kidnaps you, you don't like listen to every single one of their demands. You kind of try to escape. But with with Layla, although you don't learn a great deal about her, going back to kind of weak female characters and love interests and whatnot, I do think she's the kind of person who strives for adventure in life. Like, there's moments where she's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to go bowling, I want to have a hot chocolate, I want to stay with you. She seems like the type of person who, she doesn't mind this kind of shake up in life. She appreciates it. She's like, oh yeah, this is something interesting, because when you're first introduced to her, she's just she's at like a tap dancing dancing school, and she seems kind of lifeless. She doesn't seem very into it necessarily, and again, you don't learn anything really about her backstory, about her family life or anything. But as soon as she sees Billy on the phone,
she's like glued to him. She's like, when he walks through the room, she's looking at him the entire time.
And then like when he's on the phone, he's like, his first introduction with her was, oh, can I borrow a quarter? And he says it so arrogantly. He's like, oh, can I borrow a quarter? And then she gives him one, and he's like, okay, bye. He doesn't thank her or anything, but she's still kind of like attracted to his presence, which again is very much an ego thing. And Vincent Gallo, oh, I'm the sexiest man alive, women, irresistible lady killer type thing.
I'll be honest with you, I do think he's a very good looking person. In a sense,
absolutely.
He definitely knows it.
Yeah, that's the thing. He has a huge ego, but part of it is justified, I'd say. I mean, he's a good-looking boy. Let's just say that. But when he's on the phone before he kidnaps her and whatnot, he's basically just like treating his mum horribly. He's like shouting at her, but she wants to know more. And even when he's like, "Oh, don't try to escape or anything," she doesn't try to. Like, he says, "Oh, you've got to drive because I can't drive stick. I'm used to luxury cars." And then she doesn't run away or anything. She just she's like, yeah, sure. And I find it really interesting. She's a really elusive character, I'd say. Like, again, you don't know much about her, but you're like entranced by her almost in the same way she's entranced by Billy. You want to know more about her. You want to know her backstory, even though she's mostly just used as a love interest and like storytelling device.
See, what's interesting to me with the whole kidnapping thing, he doesn't actually have a weapon or anything like that.
No.
Like, she could, because when they go outside of, like, the dance studio towards the car, she could just run off. She could just leave.
Oh, yeah.
But in my opinion, I think she's sort of, like, the type of person who likes to help people. And straight away, she saw that he was, like, sort of withdrawn, like, angry all the time sort of thing. So she wanted to help him.
Yeah.
And if being kidnapped by him was a way to help him, she'd do that.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that's a very naive thing, but I do believe she is a naive character. But again, like going back to what you said about how he doesn't have a weapon, all he has is essentially threats. Like he goes on about if she doesn't comply with what he's doing, he'll break her jaw or he'll bite her eyes off, or just like really weird stuff. And it's so funny. Like he gets so mad at her because her car window isn't clean, and he's like, "Oh, you're a pig. This is so dirty. Haven't you ever been taught about cleaning your car?" And then he gets out with her and cleans her car, and he's like, "Oh, see how nice it looks when it's clean." And he's so funny, even though in that situation it should be terrifying. This man is trying to kidnap you, but you're still laughing. It's like very dark comedy. That's why I think the film is so funny, because although there's not a great deal of like laugh out loud joke moments, it's not your like standard American like Step Brothers or anything. It's not a comedy, but it has a very darkly funny sense of humor, and I love that. Like there's also a line where he's like it's like when he's like telling her to drive to the to his family's house, his parents' house, he literally says something like, "Oh, and if you do anything, if you slip up once and don't convince them that you are Wendy Balsam, I will break your neck, I will kill you, I will stab you right there with a knife, and also if you don't convince them, I will not be your friend." He says that after as if it means anything.
I love that. It's so funny.
Yeah,
like,
he's
context,
such a character.
Pretty messed up, but in context, it's so funny.
Yeah, because you understand that he's kind of had to build this layer of just like he's filled himself in this web of lies, really, because he doesn't know how to communicate with people. Like his only communication has been upset, heartbreak, being treated awfully by his parents and whatnot. So he's just kind of got this like reflective shield on at all times, and he can never really be his true self until later in the film. So it just resorts to insults and threats and whatnot. And again, from what I've read about him as a person, he's probably very similar to that in real life. He's got an ego, but he seems very sensitive. Like Roger Ebert criticized his second film, The Brown Bunny, so Vincent Gallo did what all normal people do and put a hex on him. And he also called him fat. We'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, I think it's just he's such a strange character, Billy, but he's super relatable, even though he's doing these horrific things. But yeah, he's not the only person in his family who has this kind of ego complex. His dad apparently used to sing on records with Frank Sinatra, and then there's this really strange scene where he takes Layla into the bedroom, like Billy's old bedroom, and he plays a record that he's sung at places before, but instead of actually singing, he lip syncs to it.
That's so funny.
It's so bizarre, and I love it. It just shows this kind of huge ego that the father has, and it's kind of passed on to Vincent as a person and also Billy as a character, I think, because like Billy actually, I wouldn't even say Billy has a huge ego, but it feels very much a Vincent Gallo thing, the ego in his father, and I assume that's probably where he got it from. His father's probably a very impressive singer, for all we know. But yeah, as the dinner goes on, you get more backstory, you get more flashbacks and insight into the stuff, and the whole crux of why Billy was in prison is well, when you first see the film, you kind of think, oh, this guy, he's done something horrendous, he's murdered someone, or he's commit fraud or something. You don't believe him when he says, oh, I was falsely imprisoned, because based on his actions, it's like, oh yeah, he's just kidnapped someone, how am I going to believe this man? But you actually find out all he wanted to do was essentially gain the interest of his mother, which is heartbreaking to me. It's horrible. So the year he was born, the Buffaloes, I can't remember what they're actually called, the Buffalo Bills, I think they're called, American football team, they essentially lost a match, and his mother essentially scolds him for that, saying, oh, if you weren't born, Billy, they would have won the match. So
yeah,
what
she
Billy
says,
does...
she actually says, I wish you wasn't born, or something like that.
Yeah, she says that exact line, and it's horrible. It's like, it's really horrible, in the same way that, like, a lot of times, like, sometimes you'll have characters or antagonists who are super over the top and unrealistic, but you can see her from the first moment you see her. You can see, yeah, she's that type of character. She's not a nice mother. She puts on appearances when people are around, but she's not a very kind person. And I think that just goes to show how horrible she is. So what Billy does is he essentially places a huge bet on one of the Buffalo Bills matches, to kind of win some money and also treat his family and whatnot. And he lends the money from a loan shark. I think it's 10,000, isn't it? $10,000.
Yeah, it's 10,000. I think so.
And then they lose. And what is it? Scott Woods, I think, the kicker. He essentially misses the field goal, which
Scott Norwood,
loses.
I think it is
Scott Norwood. Was it?
Yeah, I'm reading it. Yeah, it's Scott Norwood.
Oh wow. But yeah, essentially Scott missed it, and then because of that, like, Billy kind of he has a vendetta against him, believing he actually purposely did that. But as he lent the money from a loan shark, he has two choices: either let this loan shark kill him and his family, beat them up, and typical loan shark stuff, or take the fall for another person who's committed a crime, which is what Billy does. So you come to realize he didn't really commit a crime other than just wanting attention from his mum, which is like what? That's horrible.
Crime, really.
It's just so depressing.
It really is.
And you see flashbacks. You have like about a 5 to 10 minute flashback sequence, showcasing when he placed a bet. You have a really, really good scene with the loan shark, played by Mickey Rourke of all people, who I will still defend to this day as a great actor. A lot of people hate him, but I think he's such a good character actor.
Why did he hate him? Just quickly.
I think a lot of people think he's like super lazy, and he also had a lot of like Botox and like plastic surgery, so they think he's like, oh, he's ugly, and I hate that insult. I hate people saying, oh, he's ugly and he's not a good actor. But I can name like so many films he's good in: Angel Heart, Sin City. Oh yeah, did you ever see The Wrestler?
No.
Oh, it's such a good film. I'm gonna recommend that sometime. It's a film about a wrestler, and essentially about how his life has been after like kind of becoming pro and then kind of, deteriorating over time. And it's like a character study. And at this time, all Mickey Rourke was known for was like big action films, and then he plays in this character drama, and I'm pretty sure it won Oscars and stuff, and deservedly so, because he's great in the film. But yeah, I think he's very, very overhated. And again, he's in one scene in Buffalo 66, and he still has that presence. You still remember his scene. I don't think there's really any scenes in the film that could be cut or trimmed. I think it's like an hour and 52 minutes or something, and I think every single moment in the film is perfect. I think there's no like, you couldn't trim any of the dialogue, because it all comes back later. So when his mom will say one thing, it will come back later. When his dad says something, it will come back later. It's like, I really appreciate that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not foreshadowing, I guess you could call it kind of foreshadowing.
So callbacks, right?
Callback, reincorporating. That's the word I was looking for.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, but I love that kind of reincorporation in films. And yeah, on multiple rewatches, it is one that you notice more things about, and you kind of understand the character a bit more.
I don't like his parents like at all. By the way,
oh no,
I think they're funny to watch. But his mum is just horrible to him, saying he wished he was never born, which mothers should not say. And his dad's a proper creep as well.
Oh God, yeah.
When he first meets her, Layla, he hugs her and was like, "Oh, that's my little girl, that's my daughter." And it's like,
who's daddy's little girl?
Oh, that's
or
the one.
something.
Oh, so gross.
And there's also like there's a part where he kind of hugs her, but he's like got his head between her boobs, and it's like he like shakes his head, and it's really weird. And fun fact, or not so fun fact, should I say, Vincent Gallo did like a book or something about the production behind Buffalo 66, and the final picture is an angry picture of Christina Ricci giving him what he calls the face. And what the face was essentially her giving him an angry face because she was mad. Ben Garza, I think his name is, the guy who played his dad, essentially molested her. She considered it molesting, and he thought it was funny, Vincent Gallo. Another reason why he's a massive prick.
But we don't like him.
Yeah, no, we don't like him. We love his film. But yeah, I think it's very odd, and you don't like his dad, but again, it's kind of intentional. Like, I'm not saying that's an excuse for somebody to like,
No, definitely not.
like without consent have someone do something like that to them, but it adds to his kind of just like revolting character, the father. It just, you hate him. You're like, this guy's such a creep, and you don't want to spend another minute with him, but at the same time you're kind of intoxicated with his parents and you want to see what they do next. Kind of like staring at a car crash almost. It's like you can't look away because it's just like, Jesus Christ, these people are horrendous. But yeah, after the dinner scene, I've just realized I'm going really, really odd about the film and kind of giving a recap. But
well,
I mean,
no, it's fine. It's what it's for. That's what the podcast is about.
Yeah, definitely are going more in depth on this one.
I thought we would, so which is why I put this one second rather than doing Rango second.
Oh yeah, we'd be like exhausted. 7-hour Buffalo 66 talk. So here's Rango.
And then we go, Rango, finally.
But yeah, in the future we'll stick to one film per podcast, I'd say, unless there's like something new. Just because they'll go on and on like this. We're
only doing this because with the first episode, we thought we'd tell the listeners what our favorite stuff was.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so after the parents meeting Layla and whatnot, he essentially goes to a bowling alley, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just want to bowl for a bit," because he's obviously distraught over everything that's happened, and bowling is the only thing in life he kind of excels at. Like, he's not gifted in many ways, but he's a really, really good bowler. And there's like a really like nice scene where he goes in, and the bowling like the what do you call it? Like the assistant, like the what do you call him?
Cashier sort of person.
The cashier. He's essentially like, well, "Yo, Billy, how have you been?" And then they kind of meet up, and you can tell this guy genuinely appreciates Billy, and he appreciates his presence. He even speaks about how he's like paid for his like bowling locker bill all of the time he was in prison. So that's like 5 years of paying monthly bills, and you can just tell this guy just seems like such a nice and genuine guy, and it's nice to see that refreshing aspect in Billy's life, because everything else is kind of negative. We haven't spoke about Rocky actually. Rocky is cool, or he's originally known as Goon, but then he doesn't want to be called by that. So
I think
Billy
he has autism in one way.
Yeah, he does. I believe he does. He seems like he's got some sort of disability, and in some ways it feels like Billy takes advantage of that, because there's moments where, like, when he was in prison, for example, he gave him all of the like yearly postcards and whatnot, or monthly postcards. It's like, "Oh hey, I'm off doing my job right now," because he didn't want his parents to know he's in prison, and then he'd send them gifts, and he essentially gets Rocky to hold on to that and post them. But obviously Rocky has some sort of like learning disability, because there's moments where he's like, "Oh yeah, you know what month April is, you know what month November is," and stuff, and he doesn't have a full grasp on that. So Billy kind of like manipulates him in many ways to kind of do his deeds for him. So it's like, if he wants to find out where Scott Wood's bar is or something, he'll use Rocky as that, or he'll be like, "Oh hey, find this out for me. Oh, don't tell people about this." And it's kind of heartbreaking to see, because Billy lashes out based on how his parents treated him, and it's not good. It's not good whatsoever, and you kind of feel bad for both sides. You feel bad for Rocky, of course, because he's just like constantly getting abuse hurled at him, but at the same time you feel bad for Billy because he doesn't know any better.
I would say it's clear that Billy and Rocky are really good friends, though.
Oh
They've been friends for years. Rocky was there when Billy made the bet on the phone.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Because he was worried. Rocky was worried because he said he's going to spend $10,000, and he was like, "What, $10,000? That's way too much."
Yeah, because he knows Billy's limit and whatnot, and Billy just ignores him most of the time. Whenever Rocky actually tries to give him advice, it's always ignored until later in the film, and it's really heartbreaking to see. But it gives you a reflection of how Billy was kind of raised, and it gives you more insight into his character, even if the scenes are fairly uncomfortable to watch. But yeah, Rocky and the shop assistant, the bowling assistant, are like the only two people who ever really treat Billy with kindness before Layla's introduced. So, what do you think about Layla?
Layla's a really interesting character. With her just being the like the woman of the film. And
The woman.
That's like the the most broad term I can think, I guess. Broad, as in woman broad. No, as in the main meaning of broad.
Yeah.
But she also becomes the love interest later on, but she definitely pushes the main character, Billy, to do loads of things, do more in his character, sort of build on himself and stuff like that.
Yeah, out of his comfort zone. He becomes like more open and honest with her as the film progresses, and instead of like insulting her and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna rip your eyes out, I'll bite out your eyes," or some ridiculous thing, he'll kind of just say, oh, I don't want to do this, let's go. And he'll be more demanding. It's like she's the one controlling him later on. So it's like, there's a moment where, like, they're bowling, for example, and he's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, let's go. Instead of saying, come with me now, and we're doing this. And I think the bowling alley sequence is where the film really hits its, like, peak. Like, again, it doesn't necessarily go down from there, but I think that's the highlight of the film for me, because you get two of the best sequences ever. So you have the sequence where Billy is like showing off how good of a bowler he is, which I am 100% convinced is only there to prove how Vincent Gallo is a good bowler, because in any other film, if you have someone, it's like, oh, hey, I'm good at maths, you'll have them like perform an equation or something. But this bowling scene showcases him hitting a strike about 11 times or something ridiculous. It goes on for like 2 minutes of him just hitting strikes before anything else happens. He is so egocentric, and I find him so fascinating, because if any other person did this, it would be thrown off as, an egotistical bunch of nonsense or something. But with Vincent, you're so like entranced in it because he's such a weird person, and his characters, even though they deep down are kind of just like a reflection of him as a person, they're still so interesting. And yeah, that's the thing. So you have like the sequence where he's bowling and everything, and he's won awards in the past for like bowling. He's won competitions and everything, and then Layla decides she wants to have a go, and then she almost hits a strike. I think she like misses one, doesn't she? Like one bowling pin. And then Vincent is kind of like, Billy. Very Billy, easy to confuse.
Well, I mean, they're basically the same person at this point.
Yeah. But yeah, he just gets really, really aggravated necessarily. He's like, oh, I'm going to do something else. And then he tries to find the location of Scott Wood's topless bar, because...
Before you do that, we've got to talk about Spanning Time.
Oh, no. That's after.
Is it after? When does that happen?
It is... Because what happens is, after she's bowled, he goes off to talk on the phone to find out the address, and then comes back. I think, I don't know. But anyway, after that, there's another sequence I forgot to mention before, actually, where while he's bowling and hitting these countless strikes, going on about how great he is and whatnot, Layla kind of goes off into this dream sequence that's very reminiscent of the moment with Billy's dad, where he like lip syncs over music. And the only real thing we know about her backstory is she's a good dancer. She's a tap dancer. And she kind of goes off in this segue to a King Crimson song where she just starts tap dancing, and it feels very much like Singing in the Rain or something, like one of those old school musicals. And Vincent actually said he considers Buffalo 66 to be a musical, which
is weird, but
yeah, when I first heard that, I was like, really? But the more I think about it, music plays such a key role in the film, and honestly, there are segments which are just music or like songs played out in their entirety, which is what you'd expect from a musical. So I can't necessarily disagree with that statement. It very much is a film which, without the music, would not have the impact. Because I think the tap dancing sequence with Layla, there we go. The tap dancing sequence with Layla is just one of the most unforgettable moments in the film.
Yeah, I really
it's
like
not.
the scene.
It's not the best. We'll be getting onto that in a moment.
Yeah,
but it's
just
so
checking,
much
by the
fun.
way, the photo booth scene happens right after she does the tap dancing thing.
Yes, it happens after. So after the tap dancing thing, everything kind of during the tap dancing sequence, sorry, everything kind of it changes. It becomes much more theatrical. Like the lighting goes down and there's like a spotlight on her. The sound effects are very kind of filmish and kind of out of this world. It's like the tap dancing noises are so much louder than anything else. And then she's the center of attention. And then she has this like 2-minute moment where she's just kind of expressing herself as much as Vincent Gallo allows her to as a as a character. It's like, hey, she likes dancing. And yeah, but then she's like kind of pulled out of reality, and then the lights fade back to normal, and then Vincent's like, oh, stop doing that, you're annoying me. And it just kind of brings her back into reality. Billy, sorry. I will keep getting them interjected because they have the same thing.
You might as well just stop correcting yourself.
Yeah. But after that, then, similar to how Billy sent postcards and letters when he was in prison, giving Rocky the things to give out, he decides, oh hey, I'm not going to see my parents for like another few years, so what we're going to do, we're just going to take loads and loads and loads of photos in a photo booth. And it leads to probably one of my favourite scenes of all time. It's this unbroken, well, technically it's 2 takes, but it's filmed as if it's an unbroken, like 6-minute long sequence where all Billy wants to do is get these photos exactly how he wants, and he wants to showcase how him and Wendy are a happy couple, and they love each other very much, but his expression in every single photo, which you will see as the like kind of cover art for the podcast episode, he's just lifeless in every single photo. There's no emotion in his face whatsoever, and he's just like this husk of a human. And then she kind of tries to add life to it by smiling or doing like, you know, girly things like silly faces, or like pulling her nose up and stuff. And he's like, stop it, we're a couple, we're spanning time, we're a couple who loves each other.
I don't know why he says spanning time. It's such a weird phrase. It makes sense.
It like
it does
15
make sense,
times.
But people say spending time, and I don't know where he got that from.
But he just says spanning time, and it's honestly one of the funniest phrases I've ever heard in my life. Because this character is so serious about it. That's the thing. It's not supposed to... well, I assume it is supposed to be played for laughs. Like, Vincent, obviously, he knows how to, like, write a funny scene. There's another scene as well I need to mention before I forget. Before he goes into the parents' house, he's like, oh, I'm cold. I feel bad. Can you hug me? And then Layla goes to hug him, and he's like, don't touch me. So he's just, like, really weird.
Me, if you've seen Clone High, the cartoon,
I haven't. No.
Well, there's a scene with the JFK clone and Abraham Lincoln clone where JFK's crying and Lincoln hugs him and he goes, "Don't touch me, hold me." It's so funny.
Yeah, I just love that kind of indecisive nature to the character, and
he does the same thing. Scene. He does the same thing in the photo booth scene, doesn't he? Where she kisses him on the cheek, and he's like, "Don't touch me, don't touch me."
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're a happy couple and everything, and then she's like, "Oh, but we don't look happy or anything." And then when he's going on about like not touching her and everything, he's like, "Yeah, but Layla says something along the lines of, yeah, but couples kiss," and he's like, "We're a couple that doesn't kiss." Yeah, we love each other really very much, but we don't touch each other. We're spanning time. And then, like, it just goes on, and he keeps putting money into the machine, and he's just not satisfied with the pictures. And there's one moment where he's like, oh, let's change it, because there's, like, different color backgrounds, so it's, like, a very bleak, like, browny color, isn't it?
It's like an orangey, like a really sort of brown and orange color.
Yeah, it's like it's very disgusting, honestly.
Yeah, it's not
it's
nice
not
colour.
Unflattering. And then he changes it to like a blue background,
Yeah,
and he's
like
like,
a
"This is the
pastel
blue period." It's
Yeah,
just
that's
so stupid. Like, so many of the lines are so ridiculous, and if you look at them, it's just like a man baby crying about, "Oh, I'm not happy, boo-hoo." But they're so funny, and it's like, there's one moment where after he said "spanning time" about 15 times, he's like, "Let's span time together." It's just like such a standout scene, and even though there's so much humor like kind of interjected into the film as a whole, I just adore it. I think it's so funny because it goes on and until she's just kind of like, she's smiling, but it's like so insincere, and it feels just as like soulless as him. It just feels as soulless as his like happy face, because like she's like pulling this happy face trying to look like a loving couple, and he's just got this sour look on his face, like dour look. He
Like,
just
really
looks like he
bitter.
wants to shoot himself. It's so funny. But
the
yeah,
next scene, the diner,
Oh,
is
the
really
diner.
important actually.
yeah, the diner scene. So after the bowling sequence, Billy's essentially, "Oh, I'm done with you," because his only objective at this point now is to kill. Oh, I didn't elaborate more. So he wants to kill Scott Woods for missing the field goal, and his plan is essentially, "I'm going to kill him and then kill myself because I don't give a f." He says he essentially doesn't care. He doesn't want to continue living, and there's so many sequences in the film where he literally says those exact lines. He breaks down in a bathroom at one point, and you can tell this character is so fed up with life because of what it's offered him, because up to this point it's mostly just been disappointment and pain, and it's horrible to see. So he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm done with you," because he doesn't expect Layla to want to continue hanging out with him. She makes so many like kind of attempts at like saying, "Oh yeah, he's a lovely guy," during the dinner scene, and she genuinely seems to feel that way. It could be Stockholm syndrome, but I genuinely believe she's never really had love before either. She's never really felt a connection with someone, and by the end of the night it's completely changed for both of them. So she after he phones up and he's like, "Oh, what time is Scott Woods going to be at his bar?" I think the person says it's like around 2:30 in the morning, so he has ages to waste. So he's just like, "Oh yeah, you can tag along with me if you want. We'll go to he kind of like breaks out of his shell a little bit. He's like, "Oh hey, we can go lie together in a bed or something. We can go get comfy because it's cold." And then as soon as he's in the car, he's like, "Actually, I don't want to lie with you anyway. I'd never want to do that anyway." And he's just like, he completely switches as he always does. And then she's like, "Oh no, but I'm serious. I'd love to lie with you in a bed." And then it kind of just opens up this more fragile and insecure character, really. You understand he just wants attention, and then she offers him attention and he doesn't know what to do with it. He doesn't know, "Oh, how am I supposed to react? I can't be negative to this." So they go to a diner because Layla wants a hot chocolate, and that scene is it's very hard. I realize I've been talking for a long time, and although I know this is my suggestion, do you want to maybe take over for a little bit so it's a bit of variety? Because I feel like for the past like hour almost I've just been talking non-stop. So
no, it's fine. It is really your movie because I've only seen it twice. So, but yeah, they go to the diner where they actually encounter the real Wendy Balsam, which is who he's trying to get Layla to pretend to be. And as soon as he sees her, he's like, "Oh no, we can't stay here. We've got to go. We can't have the hot chocolate." And then because he's recognized her as the real Wendy, and we find out that he had a crush on her in high school, and he never actually went through with it or something like that. I think.
Yeah, he never made an attempt because what was going on was essentially he always saw her in church. He speaks about it later on, and then he'd always kind of like pass her house, like not in a stalker way, just in a kind of like observer way. It's like he always wanted to go to the door to say something or be like, "Oh hey, do you want to go out?" But he never went through with it because he's so insecure as a person. So you just have this horrible sequence where she's there with her husband or her boyfriend or something.
She's sort of like laughing at him as well, which is really
she's
neat.
like, oh, ain't you that weird kid that used to always pass by my house? And then she's like, oh, he was so weird. Didn't you go to jail? And she just like points out all of his flaws. Another thing to mention as well, he has a photo of Wendy in his locker room, in his bowling locker. So Layla also notices, it's like, oh, hey, isn't that the girl from your locker? So you can see he has this kind of infatuation with Wendy.
We can all relate to someone who's sort of been in love with someone, but can't really be in love with them anymore, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and how
it's like the one that got away type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's horrible to see, especially considering they never even had a relationship. All this is just built up in thoughts inside of Billy's head of, she's what could have been.
As a character, like her character's really disgusting. She's just
she's horrible.
Mean, horrible person.
Yeah, she just like walks around. She puts her feet on the table or chairs or whatnot. She makes it her own place, and then it's just her and her friend like laughing. She
kisses her boyfriend like right over the table behind them. There's like a shot where Billy and Layla are like looking at each other eye to eye across the table, but in the background, the other two people like Wendy and her boyfriend are like kissing each other across the table. It's really weird.
It's just like, hey, look at me. It's just like, give me attention type thing. Even like the opening shot of them walking into the restaurant. It's like with Billy and Layla, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we'd like a hot chocolate, please. But they just kind of storm in, just take a seat wherever. There's no like respect or sense of like compassion for anyone. And part of it is like, why did you like this woman in the first place? It's like, was she different as a kid? But then you learn she wasn't. She'd laugh at him when he'd stare at her in church, and she's like, oh, stop staring at me.
It makes sense when you realise that Billy's parents obviously really didn't like him and stuff like that, and they were just horrible to him.
Yeah, it's just like every area, every place he's looked for comfort in, it's just been disappointment after disappointment, letdown after letdown, and it's horrible to see. So there's like a moment where Layla wants her hot chocolate, obviously, and then he's like, oh no, we have to get out of here, we can't stay here type thing, doing his usual thing, and then she's like, no, I'm staying here, and she finally kind of just takes control of the situation. And he doesn't know how to react, so he's just like, oh, fuck you, all women are the same.
He sort of leaves, and then he comes back about a couple minutes later. I can't remember if he does anything between that time, though.
Yes, he does. So, he essentially says that all women are evil, he hates her, he's essentially an incel. And then he essentially runs out. He runs over to the local gas station. Also, his run is very weird. I love his run so much, but he just he does it
a couple times in the movie.
Yeah, it's so goofy, but in like a really charming way. And he leaves, and it harks back to the introduction of the film where he really needed a piss, essentially. Yeah. So they went to a Denny's, and then he goes over to this gas station. He's like, oh, can I have the restroom key? And then this store clerk says my favorite line in the film, where he's like, oh, bathroom's closed. Why don't you try to one at Denny's? I just love that line so much.
So
it's
after that, he has to go back anyway.
Yeah, and then he goes to the bathroom. He doesn't need the bathroom. It's more of just a way to kind of break down and be with himself, because he doesn't have anywhere else to be. He doesn't have anywhere. So, like, I don't even think, like, it's never explained, but I don't think he actually has a house or a home, because he's obviously...
would he?
No, because obviously he's just left, but I don't know if he had a home before, if he was just... Because in the flashback, it seemed like he was staying at Goon's house, at Rocky's house.
I think they were both living together.
Yeah, that's what I think, because isn't there a shot where, like, Goon has a bunk bed or something? Like, I
don't think he has a bunk bed.
I might not be, but I feel like they were living together at some point. So he kind of uses the bathroom as just, like, his like escape, essentially, from everything, just to show emotion, even if he's showing emotion to no one. And he just starts like breaking down, crying, saying, I don't want to live, I hate life. And
pretty brutal, honestly. I really relate to him in that scene.
Yeah, it's a horrible scene. It's like you understand this character, and this is like what, like an hour 20 minutes into the film. So before that, like an hour and 10 minutes ago, you were like, oh, this guy is such a horrible piece of crap. You hate him, you don't like him, but then you're like close to tearing up. You're like, God, I just want him to find someone. I just want him to be happy. And it's such a 180, really. It's so cool.
Let's speed run the last bits in the movie. Well, not speedrun all of it. Like, I mean, like the part where we already know. Like they go to the hotel room, have the bath, where she sort of like intrudes, because he's like he wants to have a bath by himself, but she's bored and cold, so she's like, "Oh, can I come in with you so we can spend time together?" And he's like, "No, I want to take a bath," but ultimately she wins because she keeps pressing him.
Yeah, I find that scene really interesting because when they're in the hotel room, like it seems like they weren't going to go in the hotel in the first place, but it's just kind of Layla kind of took control, and that scene is very strange to me because although it's an endearing moment, if you flip the genders, it's a really creepy scene.
It is.
Because it's essentially this person constantly saying, oh, I want to be left alone in private. And then you've got this other person, let me in. I won't look at you, I promise. And it's like, oh, hey, okay, you can. So, like, Billy lets her in when he's in the bath. He also has his shorts on, his boxers on in the bath because he's that insecure, which is just like it's just a really nice touch. So he's like in the bath in his boxers, trying to relax, although he clearly isn't. And this harks back to how his dad never used to let him use hot water, so it's like, I want a nice hot bath.
As well, in the scene, he doesn't fill the bath. Like, he only fills it a little bit, because that's how he's always done it.
Exactly, he doesn't know. It's like, normal people have like full baths and stuff, and he's never really had that or related to that. So he just fills the bath like about halfway, and then Layla gets in with him, and he just feels like really uncomfortable. But it's kind of another moment where it opens up more of his character, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. So it's kind of like breaking down his layers one by one, and Layla's a really interesting, I say vehicle, I guess, for him, because she's essentially, she is the like ongoing thing that constantly reveals more and more about Billy just by being herself. She doesn't have to put on a facade or anything. She's just truthful with him, and she always says, oh yeah, you're the most handsome guy I've ever seen, you're really nice and everything. And it's because she genuinely believes that. Like, any other person in that situation wouldn't be like that, but I just think she's such a she's such a sincere person. Sorry. And
she's a Simpson, it sounded like you was going to say.
A Simpson, yeah. She's such a Simpson.
Which it was in 1980 something. 1990 something, rather.
Yeah, so it's just such a nice moment, and it's creepy in some ways, but in another way it's just kind of cute. And then they kind of just sit down on the bed and talk more about it, and he explains how he used to really like Wendy Bolzer, and although he refers to her as his girlfriend and he says like women are evil and stuff, he says they never dated later on, but he still considers her a girlfriend because that's the closest thing he's had to a relationship, like a romantic relationship with someone. So even though it never went on, he still kind of considers it to be his...
It's like his only experience with a woman, to be fair, apart from like his mother or something like that.
Yeah, his only experience with love, and even then it's like unrequited love. It's not... It like borders on infatuation, I guess, but at the same time, I do think he genuinely cared for her, and then she just treated him horrendously. So you have Layla just talking to him, and then they lie down in the bed and relax, and... which essentially
bed thing, he's like so far away from her as well, like as far as away and then gets when he went in her bed.
Yeah, and then she like moves closer to him. He moves back until finally just kind of giving in, which again sounds really creepy if it was the other way around.
It's not even if it was the other way around. It does sound really creepy. But
when you see it,
in the context of the movie, when you see it, it sort of feels right.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like exploitative or like predatory, but explaining it, it's like, oh yeah, she forces herself in to have a bath with him. It's not a good look, but when you see the film, you understand this. But the main thing, the main reason he's even in the hotel is because he's just passing time until around 2 a.m. And then when 2 a.m. hits, he's like, oh hey, I'm going to go grab a coffee or something. And then
she says hot chocolate naturally.
Yeah, because she just wants a hot chocolate. She never got her hot chocolate before.
She needs hot chocolate.
So she wants it, and then she's like, "Oh, are you gonna come back? I'm scared you're not going to come back." And she's like really worried. Really, she thinks, "Oh yeah, he's not gonna come back." She feels like he's going to abandon her because, like most things in his life, he just runs away from it. He runs away from his problems with his family because he can't face them. He instead of running, like he doesn't face his problems, he just abandons ship, like with the restaurant scene, with the diner scene, sorry. It's like, "Oh, I don't like this, I'm going to go away," type thing.
Yeah.
So it's just a moment where he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna come back, I promise." And you know his plans. You know he's going to kill Scott, he's going to kill himself, and then that's going to be the end of it. But he kind of convinces her. He's like, "Oh no, I'll come back. I'll get you a hot chocolate. Just wait." And she's like, "Oh, can I have a kiss goodbye?" And he's like, "No, don't start evil."
No,
and that line is so it's just like he considers
evil.
Yeah, he considers love evil. He considers compassion evil. And it's horrible. It's really horrible. But then they have a hug, like a really awkward hug, but it's the closest way of showing care that he can really do. It's like he's not very good at handling emotions or showcasing how he feels, other than like outbursts of threats and insults. So it's nice to see these barriers be broken, and he's just more calm. And then he like leaves the room, and she's like, "I love you." And then he just walks out. He doesn't know how to respond to that because no one's ever said that to him before. I doubt his mother has even said that to him.
Yeah.
Like, she thinks he's a mistake, so I highly doubt it. And then he
one of my favorite scenes, can I say, is just now when he leaves, he talks to Goon on the phone.
Yes,
and he tells him he can have everything from his locker.
Yeah, he gives him his locker combination, and he's phoned Goon a few times at this point, Rocky, a few times, and essentially he said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go to Scott Wood's topless bar," and then Goon's like, "No, don't do that. Don't do that." He like tries to talk him out of it, and he's like, "Oh no, it's just going to end badly. You're going to do something dangerous." And he goes on about how he's got a gun and everything, and then at that moment, he's so convinced that this is the end. He's like, "You can have my locker," because that's the only thing that's important to him. It's like his accomplishments. Yeah, he doesn't own anything else. He owns another thing we haven't mentioned is the character design. Like, a lot of the clothes he wears are just very like bland and like like
a lot of earthy and brown colors.
Yes, but then you look at his shoes, and he wears these, like, bright red bowling shoes. It's, like, the only bit of life he has. And you can tell, just from that first moment, you're like, this guy likes bowling. So, giving the combination to his locker is just, like, everything to him. Like, he doesn't have a home. He doesn't have any possessions, really. It's just, Rocky, you can have this. And then it's like a really emotional scene, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go in, I found it." And another thing I really like is the hotel they get is literally opposite where the bar is. It's literally about a 20-second walk or something, which I just the first time I watched it I was like, whoa. I just found it really interesting.
He got what's his name?
Scott Wood.
It is called Scott Wood because everyone just calls him Scott Wood, but it is Scott Norwood.
Yeah. So he has the sequence where he's like giving the combination and then hangs up.
Warning for anyone watching the film: there is boobs in the film.
Oh yeah, so nudity alert. He goes to a topless bar and sees topless women. Who would have thought?
Yeah, but the scene's shot in such a way where he's always in the center of the scene. But everything else is a background thing. It's just him.
Yeah, so he's like, it's like a slow motion scene played to, is it King Crimson? No, it's Yes, sorry. The band Yes. It's like a Yes song, and he walks in, and it's like, do, 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 do. And it's like this like really intense song as slow motion plays, and he's just like eyeing out this bar, essentially. This
the song's called bar. Sweetness, if you didn't know.
Oh. Great song, Sweetness by Yes. Mwah, chef's kiss. But essentially, it's like an entirely dialogueless scene, so it's just music that's playing, and you see him like go around. There's like flashes to the models in the bar, like the topless dancers and everything. And then he goes over to the bar. He asks like Scott Woods. You can see him mouthing it, and then you just see this like really like overweight naked guy like having a laugh.
Way
like
past his prime. He's not even. He definitely wasn't.
He's just like this like in a thingy in Billy's mind, he's just this repulsive like egocentric loser who cost him that field goal, who put him in debt, who basically sentenced him to prison for 5 years. And then it's just like a slow motion scene as the music builds up, as the pace builds up, and then he pulls out a gun when it's like right near the climax, shoots it, and then it just freeze frames. And there's this super incredible effect
love
where
this scene.
it essentially kind of like does like a 180, a 360 kind of like
sort of like
degree.
Matrix, where they stop the time and
Yes.
it goes round them when they're dodging the bullets.
Yes,
it does that, but for the blood.
Yeah, so it's like the blood is there and you can see the blood everywhere, but the camera moves. And one thing I find so interesting about this, all those actors were like literally freezing their faces like that. It wasn't like it's not like the frame was frozen or anything. They were pulling those faces and had to do that. And it's like so impressive because she's like, how do you do that? And then after killing Scott Words, he essentially puts a gun to his chin and then like blasts off. And then there's like these 3 or 4 shots. It's like the one shot of him pulling this like really like strange face as he like pulls the trigger, because you're not going to have a traditional face when you've like shot yourself in the face. And it's just like this really like kind of goofy in a way face, but I don't know how he held it, especially for that long, because he's just like he's in that for like 10 seconds.
I think
and
then
there's just
blood in that scene, by the way, because it is splashing up, it was all practical with like plastic. I think
it does feel practical, because again the film wasn't a very high budget film, so and especially considering like CG effects at that time.
Yes, I mean look at Walking Dead when that first started, the CG effects in that for the blood where they were shooting, I was like, man, that is
and that was good. Like what, 10 years, 12, 13 years later or something. It's just, it goes to show, even with the smallest budget, as long as you have a creative vision and a good production team and like good makeup effects artist, you can do anything. And it's so impressive to this day. It actually predates The Matrix by a year. So it's like one of the first major uses of bullet time, I guess, or like stopping the time while giving a full view of the room ever. And I'm not gonna say the Wachowskis stole it or anything. It's a small film; they might not have seen it. But I
think it's similar, but not exact.
Yeah, but I feel like it had some influence, like in some way. They might have just seen like a clip or something. But I'm not gonna call them plagiarists. No.
You can't really plagiarize a way of shooting something.
No, but it's such a original effect, I'd say, especially for the time.
I mean, if that was a like sort of thing, every movie would be getting like slammed with copyright.
Because
everyone does the same shots, because there's only a certain amount of shots you can do.
Oh yeah, exactly. So you gotta get creative with them, and I like the Gallo had a vision. Vincent was like, oh yeah, I'll do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. So he shoots himself, and then his body falls to the floor, and then we get another one of those kind of like clips interjected with another clip, which up to this point have always been used for flashbacks. And then you essentially just have it zooming into this clip of his parents at his grave, and then they're crying, but they're not crying because he's dead. They're crying because someone missed a field goal in the game, because she's got like a radio with her, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's time to go type thing.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
And then
I want to get something to eat. And it's like, man.
Yeah, they just don't care whatsoever. And
can I just say?
Oh yeah, go for
it. It's interesting to think, because everything that goes on in his mind when he has like a flashback or something comes up in that sort of like frame, which is why we know what just happened was in his mind, because that comes up in a frame like that.
Yes, it's really interesting, because everything, like, whenever that effect is used, it's always to convey information that only Billy knows. It's the time he's spent in prison. It's the flashbacks he's had. It's like, there's another flashback I didn't mention where he goes on about how he used to have a dog, and then his dad killed his dog, essentially. That scene is, like, so... It's kind of funny, though. Like, I don't... There's this shot where, like, the kid actor's like, no, Dad, no!
You're gonna get us cancelled from the start.
Yeah.
Leon likes dogs dying.
It's really funny. I'm sorry. It's but just there's something about that moment, because it's like when he's like, no dad, no, like after the dad it kind of like freezes on the frame, but you hear the no in the background, and I think it's like an intentionally funny moment.
It's chilling, actually.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we're saying completely different things. I'm saying it's hilarious. You're like, oh, so dark.
No,
and
it
is dark.
Things with animals dying in movies, it really bothers me.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Animals dying in general really bothers me. Anyway,
yeah. So the flashback happens, and then it's revealed, oh, it was all in his mind. He didn't kill anyone. And then he just looks at Scott.
He goes, "What do you want, mate?"
Yeah, and then leaves. That's it. He just leaves.
I think that's the first time you see him go and do something he was going to do, and then just not do it.
Yeah, it's like he always backs out of stuff, like in terms of it's always like he wants to run from his problems, but in this case, he's arrived and reached the destination he's wanted for 5 or so years, and then realizes maybe this isn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then you have like the last 5 minutes of the film are just, they're beautiful, because he phones Rocky back up and he's like, "Oh no, you can't have my locker anymore because I'm really happy, I'm keeping it." He like throws the gun away and he's like, "Oh, I just met a girl and she really likes me."
In the context of the thing, because he says it really meanly, the whole locker thing. He's like,
"Oh
right,
yeah, like
I'm
when
gonna change my
like,
locker thing. You can't have the stuff from my locker."
Yeah, but he says it, he doesn't say it in like a negative way, like a really mean way, because before he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna gouge your eyes out." But like what he does this time, he's like, "Oh, you can't have my locker, I'm taking it back. If I see you near my locker, I'm gonna karate chop you." It's just like the tamest insult in comparison to like the stuff he's been saying before. And you can kind of see his character's like a changed man, as it were. Because he's not saying, "Oh yeah, stay away from my effing locker or I'll kill you." He's just like, "Oh, I'll karate chop you. I'll give you a karate chop in the neck or something." He says it's so funny. And then he just goes on about how he's met Layla and how, "Oh, she really likes me, she loves me." And then he goes and gets the hot chocolate, and it's like a really nice scene where he goes into the like bakery.
He's so antsy as well because he's so excited to give it the hot chocolate and the
he's just
cookie
like
he gets her.
Yeah, he's just like opening the door for people. He's like, "Oh, hi, how are you?" and everything. And then he's looking at all the cookies and everything. It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get that heart cookie. Who created the heart cookie?" And he's like talking to the guy, like he really wants to know who created the cookies. He's like, "Oh, how much is this?" And then just sees some guy sitting on his own. He's like, "Oh, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a wife?" And the guy's like nods his head and he's like, "Yeah, I'm getting her a heart cookie as well, but don't you eat it."
Don't you eat it? It's for her.
Yeah, it's for her. And then he's just like really happy talking to the shop clerk and everything. And then he gives them like a tip of like $20-$30 or something. And then the film just ends on a freeze frame of Layla and Billy lying in bed, and it's nice. It's nice. It's nice. It's just it's a Yes or a King Crimson song that plays. They're like kind of the only music, like licensed music that really plays during the film. All of the score is actually composed by Gallo himself. So you do have moments like right at the start, there's like this really kind of creepy, like melancholic song that plays during the opening credits, you know, where it's like showing the picture of Billy and everything. That's Vincent. And like he's a really talented musician. He was actually a musician before he started making films, I believe. Yeah. And yeah, it's like it's interjecting both himself into the soundtrack as well as like licensed music and exclusively using King Crimson and Yes, I believe. Like I don't think there's any songs not performed by those two bands in the film.
There's actually, let me see, because I'm looking at the page right now. You have one song by Nelson Riddle.
That might be the song.
That's the one that Dad sings. Oh, well, lip syncs is 2. And then there's Moonchild by King Crimson. I Remember When by Stan Getz. And then there's 2 songs by Yes. There's Heart of the Sunrise and Sweetness.
Yeah, it's they mostly like there's not a lot of licensed music, but when it is used, it's for a reason. And just as the credits end, it's like, oh, that's a sweet ending. And I never really turn the credits off because they're only like 30 seconds long. It's just like a really sweet ending to the film. Yeah, and yeah, that's essentially our in-depth plot summary.
Really in-depth. We took about half an hour on Rango, and we've been talking like an hour and a half on this.
It's been a long time. But yeah, this episode's went way longer than we expected. We
expected it to be like an hour long at least, but that's
we've doubled that. Should we quickly, like, as we have said we would, should we talk about the actors and
we might as well. I mean, no one's got anywhere to be if they're going to spend an hour or so listening to us.
Yeah, if you've made it this far so far, we have faith in you.
You're our number one fan at the moment.
Yeah. So, Jonathan Depp. Why don't you
Johnny
go first?
Depp, well, he's always been a bit controversial.
Yeah, just a tad.
Everyone knows who he is. Everyone knows what's going on with him. But I'm going to talk about the most recent thing that's been going on with him, because that's probably the most interesting thing to talk about right now.
Oh, yes.
Basically, his wife, what was her name? Amber Heard?
Amber Heard?
Was it just wife or girlfriend?
I think it was his wife.
Well, either way, it doesn't matter. It came out that he abused her, but that was... Apparently, and it really was apparent, and it kind of got flipped on his head, because he came out and said, no, she was the one abusing me. And he came out with loads of evidence of the fact. And there's just basically been this giant slander thing going on against Johnny Depp from her lawyers.
Yeah.
And it's really, to me, it seems like the stupidest thing, like the stupidest things they're latching onto, like a picture of him asleep with ice cream melting on him. And I'm like,
oh no, how dare he?
Right? He fell asleep while eating ice cream. What do you want me to say about that?
There are allegations that do seem a bit fishy, I'll say. Like, there was one, like, I think he let his, like, 12-year-old daughter smoke weed or something.
Right, here's the thing with that one, can I just say?
I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's bad. What I'm going to say, he said to her, like his daughter, if you want weed, let me know and I'll give you some, but don't take any at a party and don't take any drugs at a party where you don't know anyone. Don't do that. It's dangerous. And that is some sound parental advice. And to me, that sounds like the right thing to say to someone.
Yeah, it's a good thing to say, but at the same time, I don't think you should give weed to a 12-year-old.
Not to a 12-year-old, no. But he lives in this sort of thing where, like the sort of society, like he lives in Hollywood, basically. I don't know if he lives in Hollywood, but everyone's doing drugs there, and he knows that she's going to get, like, sort of, like, in that
it's
sort
unavoidable.
of scene by accident.
It's unavoidable. It will happen eventually unless she stays away from it entirely. So I can understand his mindset. And again, there's some things that are good, some things that are bad about the whole thing. It's just
I don't think he's a clean person. I don't think he's like 100% the best person in the world. But in this case, he's in the right, like mostly.
Yeah, it's like, the thing is, it's like, whenever Amber Heard and her team of lawyers try to, like, deface him, half of the time, like you said, it's such inconsequential stuff that doesn't really matter. So it's like the ice cream stuff. But my favorite thing that they brought up in court, as if it's like, oh, this is why he's a bad parent, is apparently once Amber Heard was she has like a crush on Channing Tatum, so he'd like make fun of I'm gonna actually find it up now. He'd make fun of Channing Tatum and call him like Egghead or something. And it was just like really childish. Like, let me see if I can find it, sorry. No, he'd call him Potato Head, sorry. This is like the thing, it was like, oh, he's mean to me.
Brutally honest with you, he does kind of have a potato head.
And then she also has a crush on Leonardo DiCaprio, who he called Pumpkinhead.
Oh, apparently she had affairs with him, but who knows? Yeah,
which wouldn't surprise me. That's probably why I was saying it in the first place. But apparently she came home drunk one night, so drunk that she couldn't like remember where she was, and then she like pooed. She like shit the bed. So he referred to her in a heated argument as Amber Turd. And she used that as a serious like, oh my god, he's so like mean to me. He called her Amber Turd.
That I threw up one time. And then they started calling me Mason baby sick. And I'm going, that's really mean, but that's like outing me for being gross.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you shit the bed.
Literally. He called you a silly name in an argument. What do you want?
And it's also genius. Amber Turd. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Improv king. But I think the whole situation is so strange, and although
it's kind of out of this world for me. Like, I know the whole Me Too movement's happening and stuff like that, which is a great thing, but she's really tried to bend that in her own way to sort of get her own way with the whole thing. But the difference is she has no evidence, where he has literal recordings of her hitting him. So
yeah, she like sliced his finger off or something, didn't she?
Yeah.
It's like, so Amber Heard bad, Johnny Depp all right. I don't want to say good, because again, like you said, he isn't entirely clean. Yeah, he's a decent person, I'd say. He's not a bad person. He's made some errors. Like he's a bit of a cock in interviews.
See, the thing is, with famous people, they always get framed to be worse than they actually are because they're famous. Like if someone does something bad, everyone knows they're bad because they've heard it.
Oh yeah.
But if I do something bad, only the people involved know what's happened, and then to everyone else, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they have this like it follows them. Their history follows them. It will never. You'll never be like unscathed from that. It's like
because I mean, you're always gonna know about Johnny Depp's drug use and stuff like that. You're always gonna know about Robert Downey Jr.'s drug use and stuff like that.
Yeah,
you're always gonna know about it.
Even in a similar case, kind of like it's a YouTuber, but Toby Turner, Tobuscus, had like rape allegations against him, which were proven false, and since then it kind of destroyed his career. He's not been able to like regain momentum.
Still, puts videos up, I think.
Yeah, but they just don't get distraction because people believe the allegations, and because of that, it destroyed his career. So those kind of things stick. If you're a celebrity or a public presence and something happens, unless you're Donald Trump, of course, and it's like, oh yeah, this person's done something bad, that will stick with you and probably ruin your career. So yeah, just again, I know I don't want to swear too much on this podcast, but fuck Amber Heard. Don't like her.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'd say.
Anything else about Jonathan Depp?
He's a fun guy. He does fun movies.
I wish he kind of made films like he used to in the 90s. I know a lot of people are like, oh, back in my day he was better, but like he was so on fire back then, and now it's just like every character is just Captain Jack Sparrow again, and I think he's got it in him to have that other role that kind of defines him, but he just needs to put a bit more effort for.
I think more serious movies now is a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Because right now he's what, like 50? I'm gonna check. I don't want to be mean to Mr. Johnny Depp here. He's like 57.
57? Jeez.
Yeah, so either he's on his way out of acting, which I doubt.
I thought you were going to say on his way out of life.
He's on his way out, full stop. He's on his way out of acting.
60's the limit.
If he wants to be, that is. But he can keep doing movies until he's, like, dead.
Obviously, I don't think he's going to be doing films after he's dead.
Well, they could make an animatronic. Or CGI him like many people do. But no, I do think he does. He needs more serious roles because everyone remembers him for his silly roles or his not silly roles. What's the word I'm looking for? Eccentric roles. Yeah. I mean, people remember from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
Captain Jack Sparrow, obviously.
Edward Scissorhands. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so just silly stuff. So he needs something in his repertoire that's more serious.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like he had a film come out a few months ago called Waiting for the Barbarians, which has Robert Pattinson in. So I'm like, ooh, might have to check that out.
I haven't seen that yet.
He's got a film called Minamata, which is about an American photographer who documented the effects of mercury poisoning in Japan. Jesus, that sounds serious. Yeah, that's the type of thing we're looking for. Yeah, so that came out. That came out in February. Say that again.
Which one? Waiting for the Barbarians? You saying?
No, Minamata. It's called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
I want to 2021 apparently.
Yeah, so I'll be interested to see how. Well, it says it's coming out in 2021, but it's received mixed reviews. I don't know how, unless it was like at a festival or something. Well, no, it's got like 61%. That's not even mixed. Again, going back to like the scoring system before, 61, 6 is like higher than average. Why does that equate to bad?
Oh, okay. It's it was premiered in the Berlin International Film Festival on February the 21st, and it's going to be released on the 12th of February next year.
Oh, so
it probably would have come out earlier if COVID didn't happen, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And the allegations, yeah.
Like, he's still on for, like, the 11 more Fantastic Beasts sequels, but, I mean...
11? Please.
No, there's, like... I think there's, like, 5 or something. It's ridiculous.
They're on the third film's meant to be coming out next year.
Meant to be, but I don't see it coming out at all.
No, because of J.K. Rowling being a TERF. and also COVID.
Also just like the last one kind of bombed, I think.
It didn't do very well.
Because it was a bad film.
Yeah.
But yeah, Johnny Depp can have a resurgence. He just needs to clear this like false stigma that he has, really.
Yeah.
Because
He also needs to get out of the characters he's been playing for years.
Yeah, because
he's always going to be Captain Jack Sparrow unless he stops that.
Yeah, he needs to make a change, and
Yeah.
it seems like with his upcoming films, he's kind of doing that. I mean, again, he only has one coming up now, but even then, he's trying to do something serious, which is good, and I wish him the best in the future. Please, please, please stay safe and do not marry crazy women.
All right. So, Mr. Johnny Depp, 10 out of 10, lad. Oh, you didn't rate the movie.
Oh, Buffalo 66. Oh, what is your rating for Buffalo 66?
Mine's 8.
Mine's a 10 out of 10. I adore it. Yeah, amazing. Mwah, mwah,
Speaking of Buffalo 66, Vincent.
The man.
Let's go.
Vincent Gallo. Okay, Vincent Gallo is an absolute insane human being. He was playing himself in the film and then more. He fat shamed Christina Ricci on set, called her fat and ugly. She didn't like him for that. He put a hex on Roger Ebert, also calling him fat because he didn't like his film. He claimed the cinematographer for Buffalo 66 didn't know what he was doing and he directed it all himself. He takes credit for every single thing. He's got a very interesting website where he offers many of his creations. So he makes art and stuff. So he offers his art on top of services, and he offers 2 services. Do you know what these services are?
No, go on.
Oh no. Okay, so for 50,000, I'm gonna actually read this out. It might take a while.
What's this for? Who's this for?
Vincent Gallo.
Right.
He offers 2 services on his website. This might take a few minutes to read, but I'm going to read it out in its entirety, and I'm also going to read out both, actually. So this could take about 5 minutes, so feel free to skip 5 minutes ahead.
Version.
No. Just so you can get more of a mindset into this individual. Right, I'm just loading it now. And also, all of his websites have like modeling shots of him. He's just such a egocentric person. So
get it. You keep speaking, I'll get it up.
Personal service. Do you want a link?
No, I found it.
Oh, it's like VG merchandise. So on the personal services, he offers 2. So the first one is Vincent Gallo Evenings / Weekends Escort. So the tagline is Wish, Dream, or Fantasy with Vincent Gallo, ladies only. Have you ever watched a movie and fallen in love with one of the actors, the way they looked, or a character they played? Afterwards, you thought of them over and over, daydreaming, imagining things, sexy things. When I was very young, I was madly in love with Tuesday Weld and Charlotte Rampling. On my 14th birthday, I went to see the film Rolling Thunder and had the biggest crush of all on the actress Linda Haynes. I wished every day that I could meet all of these girls. I thought a lot of sexy things with Susan Blakely after seeing her in Lords of Flatbush. In my mind, I could do with her anything I wanted to do. So believe me, I know and understand what it's like to wish and dream about spending time with a movie star, doing things that couples do, couples in love. At least couples where the guy is hot and knows how to handle a chick. I, Vincent Gallo, star of such classics as Buffalo 66 and The Brown Bunny, have decided to make myself available to all women. All women who can afford me, that is. For the modest fee of $50,000 plus expenses, I can fulfill the wish, dream, or fantasy of any naturally born female. The fee covers one evening with Vincent Gallo. For those who wish to enjoy my company for a weekend, the fee is increased to a mere $100,000. Heavy set, older, redheads, and even black chicks can have me if they pay the bill. No real female will be refused. However...
What does that... Hold on. What does he mean by that?
He just means naturally born females, I assume.
What does that mean? What? You don't like robots?
It gets better, though.
Right.
However, I highly frown upon any male having even the slightest momentary thought or wish that they could ever become my client. No way, Jose. However...
Jose.
female couples of the lesbian persuasion can enjoy a Vincent Gallo evening together for $100,000. $200,000 buys the lesbos a weekend that will have them second guessing. I am willing to travel worldwide to accommodate clients. However, travel days are billed at $50,000 per, plus all premium flight fees. Scanning for STDs is required, as is bathing and grooming prior to our encounter. Detailed photos of potential clients also are required prior. An extra fee for security to protect me is charged on top of the fantasy fee. Security fees will vary depending on the details of an encounter and how much security I will need. Potential clients are advised to screen the controversial scene from the Brown Bunny to be sure for themselves that they can fully accommodate all of me. Clients who have doubt they may want to test themselves with an unusually large and thick prosthetic prior to meeting me. You may be surprised just how much you can handle and how good it feels.
Right.
So,
can I just say one
yes.
second? I have already seen the title of the next one.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a moment.
But this guy is insane, like genuinely insane.
Do you know what he's referencing in terms of the Brown Bunny?
No,
or have
I've never seen the Brown Bunny.
Okay, so the Brown Bunny is his second feature film, the one that Roger Ebert didn't like so much. The original cut was like 2 hours long.
Wow.
It was even more egocentric than his previous film, and he cut it down by like half an hour for the final cut. But he was dating a girl called Chloe Sevigny at the time. She's a really popular actress. She's in American Psycho. She's in quite a few films. And he was dating her at the time, so I won't give away any plot spoilers about the film, but
no,
they were a couple.
Where we talk about it.
Yeah, I do think we should talk about it sometime because it's a very divisive film, like very divisive. But there's a moment, like one of the last moments in the film, which is quite notorious now. He essentially, there's like a sex scene between them where she gives him an unstimulated blowjob where she's like genuinely blowing him. And you just see this guy, like, jizz in some woman's mouth.
Wait, so it's basically just porn?
Yeah, essentially. It's like real sex. So he's referencing how big he is. Yeah. And at that point, you can just tell he had an ego. No other person would do that.
No person. Even in their, like,
privacy.
Like, what sort of thing is like an escort in this sort of...
Oh, yeah.
He's trying to escort himself. But no escort would ever go, oh, by the way, I have a massive schlong. So prepare for that. No, they tell the price, they give pictures of themselves, they obviously have some sort of stuff like where it's like, you have to bathe beforehand, etc., etc. But no one tells anyone, by the way, I have a massive schlong, you should test yourself first.
Yeah, he's delusional. And this is what I mean, like, we spent like an hour and a half talking about how, he's a really good actor, he's really insecure and we really like him. And then you just see this stuff and you're like, what? Do you wanna read the next one or should I?
No, I don't, because I'm really gonna get lost reading it, because it's literally one massive paragraph, there is no spaces between.
Okay, so after the escort service for $50,000, you thought you couldn't beat that? Well, for $1 million USD, you can buy Vincent.
That's not so much. Come on.
You can buy Vincent Gallo's sperm. Okay, here we go. Price included. Price includes all costs related to one attempt at an in vitro fertilization, $50,000 fee. So of course it's not even $1 million. You have to pay more. If the first attempt at this is unsuccessful, purchaser of sperm must pay all medical costs related to additional attempts. Mr. Gallo will supply sperm for as many attempts as it takes to complete a full fertilization and successful delivery. Sperm is 100% drug, alcohol, and disease-free. If the purchaser of the sperm chooses the option of natural insemination, there is an additional charge of $500,000. However, if after being presented detailed photographs of the purchaser, Mr. Gallo may be willing to waive the natural insemination fee and charge only for the sperm itself.
So basically, if you're very attractive, you're gonna get it for cheaper.
No, you get it for free. You don't have to pay him. If you're ugly, you do, though. Those what was it? Those of you who have found this merchandise page are very well aware of Mr. Gallo's multiple talents, but to add further insight into the value of Mr. Gallo's sperm, aside from being a multi-talented in all creative fields, he was also multi-talented as an athlete, winning several awards for performing in games of baseball, football, and hockey, and making it to the professional level of Grand Prix motorcycle racing. Mr. Gallo is 5'11" and has blue eyes. There are no known genetic deformities in his ancestry, and in brackets it says no cripples.
Don't worry, I'll be putting screenshots of said things in the YouTube video at this exact point, so you can see it for yourself.
No cripples. Holy fuck. And no history of congenital diseases. If you have seen the brown bunny, you know the potential size of the genitals if it's a boy. 8 inches if he's like his father.
Wow.
What the fuck? I don't know exactly how a well-hung father can enhance the physical makeup of a female baby, but it can't hurt. Mr. Gallo also presently maintains a distinctively full head of hair, and at the age of 43 has surprisingly few grey hairs. Though his features are sharp and extreme, they would probably blend well with a softer, more subtly featured female. Mr. Gallo maintains a right to refuse sale of his sperm to those of extremely dark complexions. Though a fan of Franco Harrison, Derek Jeter, Lenny Kravitz, and Lena Horne, Mr. Gallo does not want to be part of that type of integration. In fact,
we do not condone this.
I don't condone anything he's saying, by the way. In fact, for the next 30 days, he is offering a $50,000 discount to any potential purchaser who can prove she has naturally blonde hair and blue eyes. Anybody who can provide a direct family link to any of the German soldiers of the mid-century will also receive this discount.
This
Under
can't
the
be
laws.
Real.
It is. Under the laws of the Jewish faith, a Jewish mother would qualify a baby to be deemed a member of the Jewish religion. This would be insensitive for Mr. Gallo to sell his sperm to a Jew mother, his reasoning being
God.
with the slim chance that his child moved into the profession of motion picture acting or became a musical performer. This connection to the Jewish faith would guarantee his offspring a better chance at good reviews and maybe even a prize at the Sundance Film Festival or an Oscar. To be clear, the purchase of Mr. Gallo's sperm does not include the use of the name Gallo. The purchaser must find a surname for the child.
Okay, this guy's an absolute psychopath.
You know, sometimes when you laugh at things that you shouldn't laugh at.
You definitely shouldn't, but it is funny. This guy is insane.
This guy.
How the hell?
This guy said, there's no cripples in his family. You can't have his sperm if you're Jewish or if you're black.
By the way, we don't condone the use of the word cripple.
Oh no, sorry. I'm just reading directly
no, we're just
from
reading
the
it.
thing.
We're just reading it. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's insensitive.
This guy's nuts.
Yeah, again, if he said the N-word, I wouldn't have said that. I feel a bit bad now. Apologies for anybody who's offended by that. I'm just reading them as they are presented. But this guy, again, he created my favourite film of all time, but as a person, he is an utter scumbag. And
he's selling posters, like movie posters, old movie posters, but they've all been folded up.
Oh yeah, sorry. He's a crazy guy, and then you think this is bad. You think this is the worst you can get,
but
and
obviously
then
it gets worse.
and then you realise he has an Instagram.
Oh.
Okay, so
how do I get to his Instagram?
It's just Vincent Gallo. So he has 13,000 followers on Instagram. His bio says legend, and he's following one person. Guess who that one person is?
I don't know anymore.
Have a guess. I want you to take a guess. Have a guess. Think of an equally controversial person.
As controversial as him?
Way more controversial. Like, everybody knows his name. Everybody hates
Donald
him.
Trump?
Yep.
Is it? Nah.
He is only following Donald Trump on Instagram. And then you get to the posts. So his Instagram is entirely just for promotion of his shirts that he makes. And they're one-of-a-kind shirts.
Oh my god.
Are you looking at them?
I'm looking at what he's posted.
Oh yeah. So one of the shirts from the 25th of September is entitled "Fuck Black Lives Matter." And then the description
We
is...
don't condone that message either.
Oh, no. We don't condone any of this. I just want to say that right now. And it says, hate is not the answer. Protesters think they speak for everybody. They don't speak for everyone. I hope one day young black Americans decide to read Thomas Sowell. What an ugly generation of fucked up young folks. At least if they were creating amazing music, film, art, or anything. Yawn.
Where's this one? I can't actually see this one.
It's right at the end.
No.
It's like the yellow one. Put this up on screen for people. Obviously, we don't condone it, but yeah,
I don't think I'm going to put this one up on screen.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, I'd say show some of the less offensive ones. There's a quite funny one of Jeff Bezos, head of Amazon, which just says the word prick. That one's kind of funny. And
I'll show some other ones. There's FedEx sucks.
So what is it? The Jeff Bezos one.
Yeah.
So all of these shirts are different sizes, by the way. They're one of a kind. He sells them for like $600 or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's signed. Say that again.
I said one day I'll buy one, which I won't. By the way, I don't want to condone this kind of stuff.
No, maybe the Jeff Bezos one.
Or the if Satan were gay one, the Apple one. Oh my god.
Yeah. Of course. So this shirt is size medium, and then in brackets he put too big for Jeff.
Oh my god.
And then he quoted something like a quote or a reference that says, Jeff Bezos, the little prick with all the money, the book peddling richest man in the world who tips 12% on a dinner check. What did this prick do for the USA during COVID? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. One day, he will lay down for his last dying breath and think, what a prick I was. A parasitic, greedy, sick prick, and I wasted my whole life. This is the kind of man that Vincent Gallo is.
Yeah.
He also posted a picture of Michelle Obama with the word overrated on.
Yeah, I've also seen the President Trump one that says, I love President Donald Trump. He will always be our president and the greatest of them all. I wish him a speedy recovery from the Wuhan Chinese virus. Incredible. You literally cannot make this up, I swear to God.
Yeah, this is official. He's verified. It seems like someone who's trying to like slander him, you'd think, but it's not. There's one of oh god, what's his name? Is it Thomas Edison? Not Thomas Edison. He created light bulb. One of the like presidents or something.
Which one?
But it just it says whites freed the blacks.
Oh no, yeah.
It's like one of the first one. I think he's a president or like. Again, I'm not too keyed up with American history, so I don't know. But I think the worst one of all is the image of George Floyd, which says, the greatest black man to ever live. I don't disagree with that, but it's very, very clearly satirical because... and not in a funny way, because
the description of it says George Floyd was the greatest black man to ever live. It was so heartbreaking to watch the videos of him overdosing. So basically,
I can't believe this man.
He's basically saying that he wasn't, suffocated, which he was, and he actually died of an overdose instead.
I can't do it. Like
this guy, he doesn't know which side to fucking fight.
It's. I can't believe it. I am ashamed. I am ashamed to say this man created my favorite film. It irritates me to no end. I want to hate the film. I'm just
he made a t-shirt of hold on. Never mind. He made a t-shirt of Morgan Freeman, and the description on this one is Morgan Freeman is an actor I really look up to, the one I admire the most. The sharp contrast to my feelings about Robert De Niro.
And then the tags say Robert De Niro, a-hole, buffoon, babble, cliche, idiot. It's like he made a post about Morgan Freeman and just speaks about Robert De Niro.
He's an absolute nutcase.
I can't, like, I genuinely, I don't know how to respond to half of this stuff. Like, in the, there's also another one about, like, a judge or something. Is that still up? Yeah. There's like, a judge called Sonia Sotomayor, in the Supreme Court, and the caption says, hopefully the cigarettes and fried food will kill her soon.
Oh God.
And then it's going on about left-wing media, but he says,
He
"Do I
really
wish
goes
her
on with that.
death? Do I wish death on anybody I don't agree with? No, I do not wish death on anyone. Instead, I simply hope and pray Sonia Sotomayor wakes up one day soon and says to herself, I do not belong on the Supreme Court, I resign. In the meantime..." I can't read this stuff, it's
In the
embarrassing.
meantime, he's certainly not hiding her pack of cigarettes or blocking her car from entering KFC drive-thru. Incredible.
And then there's like tags, #fat women.
Oh my God.
This guy is
He's
just
irredeemable.
I'd say the only redeemable thing about him is he's made 2 good films, but Hitler was a good artist, but I'm not going to say I'm a fan of him.
I've never even seen Hitler's paintings, to be honest with you.
They are really impressive, but
Yeah.
fuck Hitler. And also fuck Vincent Gallo. Fuck Vincent Gallo.
We will link his Instagram and his website in the description on the YouTube video and wherever we can add a description. But do not buy his stuff. Do not buy anything from him.
No, I luckily bought a brand new copy of Buffalo 66, but it was from a reseller, so that means he doesn't get profit. Good.
Well, if you're going to watch his movies, pirate it.
Shh! Don't promote illegal activity!
I'm joking.
Oh God, that was so loud.
But really do it.
Just find something out there. Find a site. Find something. Don't
do
buy
something else. Don't give this guy money. He doesn't need money.
He doesn't. He's an egocentric lunatic.
On the thumbnail currently, like the way it's edited right now, is like the pictures from the photo booth scene.
Oh yeah, with Rango.
Yeah, I'm gonna edit it. They're gonna leave the Rango one in, but I'm gonna edit some of them out just to be his pictures from his website. And if you're hearing this now, it's funny to us, but you've already seen it, so.
There's also a really interesting article that he wrote, like an opinion piece about a few years ago, going on about how he's like loves Donald Trump and everything, and he was like, "This is unfiltered Vincent Gallo," and some like, he's just such an idiot.
Is Rice's band?
Rice's band?
No, because he's got a part on his website called Rice.
Rice.
Yeah.
What?
Rice. Oh no, it's him selling his guitar
pick.
pick. Yeah.
Sold out. How dare it?
Sold out. Someone bought it.
Yeah, I love how it says special new artworks in special new merchandise and artworks, but it's just this like disgusting merch, like the like prick and like the George Floyd one and everything. It's like, yeah, they're like $666, and it's like, who's going to pay that? Again, apologies if I've been like swearing. I've tried to like limit myself.
This
but,
man
like,
makes people mad.
Yeah, there's like when you've been speaking about a guy for almost 2 hours, you kind of just get really irritated about him, and I think that's the case here. He's a scumbag. I love him as an artist. He's a very talented man.
Yeah.
But I don't condone any of the things he does. I don't condone his services. I don't condone his art. I don't condone him as a person. As he said, I don't wish death on anybody, but I wouldn't be distraught to hear if he passed away. I wouldn't be distraught.
Let's hope he hears this and the
Vincent,
if you
are listening, I want you to know you can change. Just like that lawyer, you can change. One day, you could wake up and think, "Hey, I'm going to stop being such a cunt."
Also, you made a movie about it. Buffalo 66 is about that. You can just do what the character did.
Yeah, just
Change.
be nice.
Be nice.
Be nice. Love is real. Your character, Billy Brown, discovered this. You can be loved. You don't have to hate everything. You can be kind and compassionate to people. But instead, you choose to be a bully. You choose to be a very bordering on racist person. I don't want to say racist entirely, but when you say you're going to sell your sperm to everyone other than Jewish and black people, man,
that
why?
Is racism.
It's bad. Yeah. You are limiting people from your ridiculous merchandise, as you call it, service.
Anyway.
But yeah, please.
Oh no, I've just
change.
This is the last thing I'm going to say about him. But I just went on his LPs and CDs page, but the cover for the Brown Bunny soundtrack is the
Is
controversial
it the
scene.
shot? Oh, of course it is.
It's just blurred.
Oh, hell yeah. I gotta love it. Fun fact, Kanye West knows who Vincent Gallo is because he referenced that scene in a song once.
Oh.
But, yeah.
Anyway, this is
that
probably the end of the podcast now.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I'd say
news,
so.
Other than everything's delayed because of
Movie news. Shoot. 4 started shooting.
the new Thor.
Jared Leto is going to be in Zack Snyder's Justice League as the Joker. That came out like a few hours ago. So yeah, Jared Leto is back, baby.
Something that's interested me, actually, the old 2 Spider-Men from the other 2 apparently have been signed onto the new movie because it's a movie about multiverse, which would actually be a really good step, and I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I found some incredible news.
Go on.
Quibi is shutting down. Do you know what Quibi is?
No, I don't. I did see it. I did see it was shutting down though.
So Quibi is a streaming service that came out probably about 6 to 8 months ago. So it's like the shortest shutdown ever.
Like the worst time.
And what essentially what it is, it's a streaming service which you can only watch the films on your phone, and that's the gimmick. It's like, hey, these are filmed vertically, horizontally, vertically, and you can only watch them. And there's like really weird shit, like Steven Spielberg made like a series for it, which is now never going to come out as it's shutting down, I assume. And the whole
bring it out somewhere else.
Well, no, you can't, because here's the thing. You can only watch it at night. When your phone clock says it's like 8 o'clock and it's dark outside, you can only watch it then because it's a horror series. How stupid is that? It's time-based. You can only watch shows based on a certain time. It's one of the worst streaming service ideas I've ever heard of.
Because the website's still up right now. So everything is framed to fit your screen. And it's like, yes, it always is. But
yeah.
Your screen can be sideways. The phones were made so they can be sideways now. Stop.
Yeah, I think my favourite thing to come out of a whole Quibi thing, other than them being like a huge laughing stock, is the official Letterboxd account like retweeted them once when it was like, oh, Quibi is looking for investors, and they were like, hey, we'll pay $5 for you. We'll pay $5, and then they were like, "Seriously, DM us." And then they replied in a follow-up tweet, being like, "Please don't unfollow us. Please don't unfollow us." But it's just so funny. It's like they're worth nothing. It's a stupid, worthless idea, and I'm so glad they're shutting down.
So more Quibi, guys. Sorry about that.
No more Quibi. I feel bad for the people who've lost their jobs, though. Hopefully, you're able to find work elsewhere.
But I'm still going to lose a job.
Yeah, I am still going to laugh at the fact that the service shut down, though.
Yeah.
But please, hopefully everything goes well with you guys. And yeah, Borat 2 comes out on Friday.
It does.
I'm so excited.
Let's see.
Have you ever seen the first Borat?
I have. Not recently, though.
It's on Prime now. You should go rewatch it. I rewatched it twice in the past month, and it's like one of the funniest films I've ever seen.
Yeah, I remember it being funny, to be fair.
It's so good.
The Batman's going to continue filming until 2021 because of all the delays. With Patterson getting coronavirus and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's cured now, though, apparently.
Yeah, well, he must be, considering he's still doing it.
The Candyman remake comes out on my birthday.
Does it?
Yeah, August 27th. Second time I've referenced my birthday.
I'm going to keep referencing it until everyone sends you presents.
Buy me presents, guys.
Oh my god, the DCU could soon have more Jokers than Batman.
Hell yeah.
What does that mean? Who knows?
The Joker, baby.
I'm the Joker, baby.
I'm the Joker.
That's the first time you've referenced a meme in the video, in a podcast.
Is it?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, we haven't
Wilhelm scream?
That's not a meme. That's just annoying.
Maybe. Yeah. There's not a great deal much out
No,
now.
not really. I mean, the Ghostbusters movie's delayed until next year now. The other one, the Afterlife, it's called.
God, I'm not interested at all in that film. I know people are, but I can't be bothered. It's just like, the franchise is dead. The first film was good. The second was okay. You don't need to continue. Although the video game was really impressive.
The video game was really fun, to be fair.
Yeah, but
apparently this is one bit of news. It's not new news, but it's old. We'll call it. Tom Holland being in Uncharted. If it's I don't get it though, because he's really young. He looks.
It's
young,
like an origin story, I believe.
but they've already done an origin story in the game, unless they're just rehashing that.
Oh, obviously they've got to for the.
They're probably gonna rehash it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got no problem with it, but still.
No, I don't know. I'm just so bored of all these franchises and remakes and reboots and adaptations.
One thing, Matrix is going to be out next year, I think. They were aiming for next year.
Yeah, next year or the year after, and then John Wick comes out the year after that.
I thought John Wick was next year as well.
No, because that got delayed. No, that got delayed because he had to shoot Matrix, and then COVID happened, and it was like, we're not going to make it in time. So yeah, delay. But hey, John Wick 4 and 5 are coming out.
Yeah, at least we have hope there.
Yeah.
See, what I wanted, what I wanted was, what's it called? Because Matrix and John Wick are supposed to be coming out on the same day or around the same time, so you could watch them both.
Yeah, they were the exact same day. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was really excited with that. I've obviously organised with some people to go and watch them both on the same day.
Yeah, that would have been so fun.
We can't do that anymore.
But yeah, I think any other interesting things, or should we?
The Monster Hunter movie. Everyone's angry about it.
I don't care.
Shush you. Monster Hunter obviously is a game. I've never played it. I spoke to people who have played it, and I do agree with them, because the Monster Hunter movie, like many other video game movies in the world, they always go for a fucking US military thing. They always go, you know what would be cool? If the US military fought big monsters and not people with cool swords. And it's like, what? Why? Why would it be cool if it's the US military? Stop doing that.
3 words for you.
Go on.
Paul W.S. Anderson. I think that's 3 words. He is the guy who made the Mortal Kombat film. And then he is the guy who made 5 of the 6 Resident Evil films.
Mm-hmm.
Every single film this man makes is awful. He doesn't try. He also made some other video game movies, I believe. People keep giving him money, and I don't know why.
So he made Mortal Kombat, Resident Evil. He made Alien vs Predator. Death Race.
He made Death Race.
He also made Resident Evil Afterlife and Retribution. Resident Evil Final Chapter.
He's a bad filmmaker, and people should stop giving him money.
No, yeah, definitely.
But, on the other hand, he's kind of living the dream, because Mila Jovovich is his wife.
Yeah.
And he essentially gets to just make films with his wife all the time, and he gets paid for it. So, you know what? People should stop giving him money, but if he's having fun with it, Godspeed. You enjoy yourself in all that money.
Someone keeps doing it to him. Like, he keeps giving him money and stuff like that. He also made a Dead or Alive movie. Which, okay. Sure.
Why?
I don't know. Well, he produced that, actually. Never mind.
I hate that film. I hate Paul W.S. Anderson.
He's not that bad. But yeah, we should probably finish before we just trail on to us just making noises.
Yeah, so I hope everybody has enjoyed the first episode of the Some Bad Opinions podcast. Are we still calling it that?
I assume so.
Beautiful name.
Fast and Furious, by the way, is ending the franchise.
Yes. With a 2-part series, final. Yeah, they go to space in the 10th one.
Oh, I'm not watching it. I could not give a damn. I'll watch the last one and I'll have no idea what's going on.
Yes. But yeah, hope everyone's enjoyed the podcast. It's been long. Yeah. We expected it to be under an hour. We're approaching the 2.5 hour mark.
Roundabout.
Yeah, so this has been an experience.
It's been an experience. If anyone has any other opinions or whatever, just fly it in the comments.
Let us know. We'll make some social media for the people who are just listening on Spotify or whatnot. So if you want to tweet at us, shoot us a message or something. let us know.
Like, comment, subscribe,
all
do
that good stuff. There'll be more people next time. It won't just be us two. Don't worry. And
There'll be more people speaking over each other.
Yeah, and also, we'll try not to go as in-depth unless you guys like that, because we did talk about Buffalo 66 for like an hour and a half. If that is too much and you get bored, let us know, and then we can trim it down a bit.
Well, next time, because we sort of had to change it up because of a last-minute change sort of thing, next time we'll have sort of like a timing scale to go off. We just literally went into this blind. We had no idea how to do it.
Yeah, this is unfiltered for the most part. Like Vincent Gallo's multiple thoughts. Very unfiltered. But yeah, I will end this with one sentence. Unless you've got anything else to say, I will end it with one sentence. But okay. All I've got to say is stay safe, have a fantastic day, and Patton Oswalt killed his wife. His wife. His wife. His wife. His wife. His wife. His wife.